What's up, everybody? Welcome to the House of Mario, the South Australian Nintendo podcast that is backed by a 120 Power Star rating. I'm your host, Drew Agnew, and the doors to episode 143 are open. This week on the show, we're talking about Metroid Prime trilogy coming in June, PETA hates Animal Crossing, Pokemon DLC leaks, and when is a game considered retro? But first, I gotta say, what have the cats dragged in today? Whoa! Oh, look, they've dropped off Bryce DeWitt. How you going, Bryce? What's going on, mate?
Oh, so the cats have dragged me in now.
Yeah, the cats have dragged you in.
Okay, yeah, so I go away for a bit and then I just get picked up by some feral mangy cats and dragged in the door.
Yeah, well, thank God. Someone's got to bring you back. It wasn't going to be me. I didn't know where you were. Were you just hanging out with cats just on the street or, Jesus, I don't know.
Yeah. Yeah, no, for sure, Gotta control the rat infestation somehow.
You do. You should come to my place, actually. There's a little mouse that's eating my dog's food. So.
Oh my God.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, we saw it the other day, remember?
Yeah, and it's a little Jack Russell. Like, surely it can handle a mouse, but it's a pesky little thing.
Considering what your old Jack Russell used to do.
Yeah, I know. We used to hunt them.
Rip them out of holes, yeah.
Yeah.
Like, damn. What happened, Drew? Where'd your trading gusto go?
Oh, I don't know, man. I don't know. Anyway, Bryce, it's good to have you back. I'm not talking to myself now, so that's a nice change of pace for the last couple of months. So
yeah, it's good. It's just been crazy this year, really, hasn't it?
Very crazy.
Been waiting to come back, but then there was restrictions and, you have to dodge the law and, had other things going on as well, which wasn't fun. So
yeah. So has the House of Mario changed much since you last been here? I've tried to sort of clean up before you come back. I've just been chucking the beer cans and that just on the floor, but now I've cleaned it up a bit. Can you sort of notice that, or?
I see the mouldy bricks from the mushrooms you've left in there are gone.
Yeah, finally.
I mean, you left them in there long enough that they literally started to grow extra mold on top of the mold. So that's a good start.
It's a great start. So, how you been? What's been going on?
Not too bad. I took, a break at the start of the year because of family death and whatever, and then just as we were getting back into it, coronavirus happened, I guess.
It did, yeah.
And so that really took a nice big old rod and shifted it into our plans, and because obviously by tradition we usually try to keep this a face-to-face thing. I'll come around and record an episode, and that's our catch up for the week, and that's what we do.
Yeah. Now I'm just looking at my computer screen just without your face, and
yeah,
I do miss your face a little bit. I'm not craving it or anything. I'm not sort of marinating in sorrow at the moment, but definitely do like seeing your face. Seeing that bit of fluff on the end of your chin wag as you're talking about your favorite Legend of Zelda game or something like that. Yeah, it's quite nice. So yeah.
I miss the routine. The routine's good, and again, it is our catch-up time. That is what it is. We started the show as that, and that's how it's always been. But during the obvious restrictions, I think we both had people to consider in our lives that we didn't want to blatant cause of problems of if we managed to catch coronavirus or whatever it may be.
Yeah, of course, yeah.
So I think we were both trying to play it pretty safe and by the government's rules, and hooray for us. SA has no cases, so we're doing really well.
Absolutely.
But better be safe than sorry, That's kind of how it was, and I think to some degree we could have recorded the show remotely, but there's things that don't line up. The kids, they're home all the time during the whole thing. Evie only surprisingly missed a couple weeks of kindy, which is good because if she had missed more than a couple weeks, it in the long term, it's not really good. Kids got to have their growing up experiences and going to kindy and everything. And she's back now and she's happy, which is great. But I guess what I wanted to say is that despite everything that's gone on and my innovability and everything, you've still managed to keep the show alive. And you really need a big old pat on the back for that, my friend.
Oh, thank you very much, Bryce.
You've done a very, very, very good job. But you know, it's been a harsh start to the year, and our schedule is going to be flipped completely around considering what we usually get up to. Usually we have AvCon, you know, mid-year, PAX late year. God knows if that's going to happen now. It's, you know, AvCon's cancelled until January every year now, which sucks because January is literally the worst time of year for us.
Yeah,
so.
I've got to say, the guy, whoever organises AvCon, and just to catch those up for don't know what AvCon is, it's basically our local video game convention. It's in Adelaide. It's only 4 hours away, so it's the easiest one for us to get to. We've got friends up there who can accommodate us and everything. And going up there in July is a fantastic time of year. You know, it suits us really well. But was it January they've changed to? Was it January 10th or something? 10th. And that's like right in the holiday season.
It's absolutely horrible.
So I don't know, guys. That's a bit rubbish.
I mean, it is very rubbish because, you know, everybody spent their money at Christmas. People are spending time with their family. I've got, you know, both of us work bar jobs. It's the busiest time of year because everybody's taking their holidays, and then, you know, I've got my son's birthday at the end of that month, so it's sort of like, for me financially, my God, it's horrible. But like,
it's just just for them getting guests and everything. I would imagine if they're trying to get voice actors or whatever their guests are from the States or from across Australia or something, it just seems like a real tough year to get that organised as well. But yeah, we'll see how it goes for them and whether we can make it or not. Who knows? We might be able to pull something together, but yeah, maybe.
But you know, at the end of the day, just in general, I think a lot of people take that time of the year off to spend it with family, not at a big convention in Adelaide.
Yeah, I think it'll be okay for the people that live in Adelaide, but anyone who needs to travel to get there, that's when it'll be a bit more of an issue. But
and I would imagine there's a fair decent amount of people that do still travel there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah,
you know, even if it is just like a couple of hours or whatever it may be, and then like you said, the guests, like a lot of the cosplayers and stuff that attend, they come from, you know, Melbourne, Brisbane. Just from history and what memory serves. Like a lot of the cosplayers we interviewed, there was only a couple from Adelaide, and the rest were up from the East Coast. So, yeah, unfortunately, it's a bit rough.
Yeah, and as for PAX, we might not be allowed to go over the border to Victoria. So who knows? Who knows what's going on with that one?
I mean, we've got 6 months left, and you know, for all intents and purposes, we're far, 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 far better off than the rest of the world is at the moment.
Yeah.
But there's other things to consider, like a second wave, possibly, you know, possibly inbound and all that stuff.
Well, if it continues to get better like it is currently at the moment, and they do lift the borders and the event goes as planned, would you feel fine going there? Just with everything that's happened, or would you be more than happy to sort of go back to normal and go back to going to these big conventions? Because that's one of the biggest things. Like, are people wanting to go into, you know, this cramped convention center and shoulder to shoulder with one another after, you know, such a scary worldwide event where it's like, all right, you've got to keep your distance?
I mean, I think it all comes down to what happens at the end of the year. You know, if we get to that point, and it's sort of, well, you know, everything's died down. There's no cases in Australia. You've got, you know, some sort of way to combat it, which hopefully they will at that point. Then maybe I would consider it. I don't think they're going to come up with something that's as quick as a vaccine, but maybe something that is effective against treating it, you know, might be a bit better. But I guess it would be still a we will see. It really depends tightly on the circumstances of what's going on. I love going to PAX, and as I've discussed with a couple people during this time when the discussion of whether it's going to be on or not is happening, a a lot of people say the same thing, and that's that, PAX is almost a sideshow for a lot of us in the community that we're in, and a lot of it is more about catching up with the people that we work with online.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
Especially during, the nighttime gigs where we'll go down and have a drink at a bar and, catch up with people that we commonly talk to. And it's something that we thoroughly enjoy going to just for that reason. 70% of it is more or less that, and the 30% is PAX running around and looking at games and stuff like that, because you won't even get to most of them.
No. Yeah.
Because PAX is always packed, and everybody's on in the lines, and then you get in one line, you go play a game, you go to the next one, and it's already packed up because everybody's got their first choice.
Yeah.
So yeah,
there was an idea. I was listening to this on Nintendo Shack. So basically, what they were doing, because all of those guys are part of the Play Some Video Games network. They're sort of like spread across America. So what they were going to do for E3 was rent an Airbnb house and all come together to all record podcasts and react to E3 stuff and all of that throughout the weekend. And I thought that was a really great idea. Obviously, that isn't happening anymore, just with what's happened, and especially over in the States. But I think that would be an absolutely fantastic and fun thing for us to do here in Australia, like us two and our friends we've made through doing podcasts and things. I think it'll be a real fun idea just to get together and do that, because like when we go to PAX, that's like the main thing I sort of want to do anyway. So whether that's a thing we could consider replacing PAX if it doesn't happen, or do it another time of year so it's not just the one catch up per year, that could be an interesting idea, but that's up for all the other guys to sort of think about as well. So if you're listening to this, anyone from our little Australian circle, let us know. And who knows? It might happen.
We'd be keen to do it.
Yeah, absolutely. So Bryce, before we move into sort of what we've been playing, I want to bring up an Apple podcast review we got this week. So last week I brought up, we didn't have any reviews, so I brought up the fact that we were charting in Denmark. At the moment, we are at 168 in Denmark. We've gone down 19 places since last week. But when I brought that up, it inspired someone to leave us a fantastic, very kind review over on Apple Podcasts. And the review's from Daniel Jacobson. And he says, a message from Denmark. Since you called out Denmark, I thought it would be funny to write in and say hello. I really enjoy your podcast and listen to you while I am at work with my headphones on. Keep up the good work and thanks for a great show. Best wishes from Daniel in Denmark. By the way, my travel dream destination has always been Australia. Looking forward to explore it someday. So Daniel, thank you very much for leaving us that review. And I got to say, it made my week. It really did make my week. I was so excited when I went to Chartable and I sort of looked at the reviews. I'm like, I was watching something on the TV with my partner, and I audibly went like, "Holy shit!" And she's like, "What?" I'm like, I called out Denmark, and someone from Denmark actually responded. Oh my god! Because like as a podcaster, like a lot of what we do is like, like looking at stats and like saying, "Oh, well, is it improving? Are we doing the right thing? Are we sort of sharing it the right way?" Like there's all these things. And I know when I'm listening to podcasts, like whether it's from Kind of Funny, IGN, like all the big guys, the like smaller guys, the medium guys, whoever it is, I'm usually at work, I'm listening to it and the podcast ends and go, that was a great discussion. And I sort of leave it at that because, you're busy while you're listening to a podcast. It's usually something that's filling your ears with something that's sort of making boring tasks a bit more easier.
Yeah, that's right.
So I'm the exact same way. So I definitely understand why a lot of the time we don't hear back from you guys listening to this show. But when we do, holy shit, I absolutely love it. It's awesome. Because I guess like we've got like our Discord community, we've got our friends on Twitter, and we're hearing back from like a small group of people all the time. So a lot of the time I think, oh well, we don't really have that big an audience or anything like that. But it is so nice when we hear back from you guys, and it's fantastic. And I hope you guys in Denmark enjoy the show. It's really, really cool. Yeah.
And hearing from people all over the world too, that is an absolute, I guess, mind break.
A mind break.
Yeah, because, you look at these stats, and as I was saying to you before when we were talking pre-show, Like, you look at these stats and you go, oh, we've got listeners here and here and here and here. And we kind of think like, well, are they people that have come from here and are listening over there? Because it feels weird being where we are in the world. Like, we seem like a very silent people at times because we're just a small little island nation. Doesn't feel like our voice carries as far as, say, IGN or something like that. Something that's a bigger presence and has a podcast.
Yeah, absolutely.
So getting that, getting those stats and looking at them and going, oh, okay. But actually hearing from people who do listen from all over the world, that to me is absolutely mental. I struggle to believe it sometimes, but it's very much appreciated, and I'm glad that we can bring some sort of entertainment to your week.
Yeah, definitely. That's what the show's all about, really. Just enjoying what we love and having some fun together. So,
absolutely.
Just out of interest, the top 5 countries that actually listen to us is pretty cool. So, number 1's probably pretty obvious. It's Australia. Number 2 is the States. Number 3 is France. Number 4 is Spain. And number 5 is the United Kingdom.
That's crazy.
So, the other countries, get your numbers up. Come on, download us.
Listen more.
Yeah. So if anyone out there hasn't left us a review on Apple Podcasts, please consider it. It definitely helps us out a lot, and it it makes us feel better if you've got good feedback, and if you've got some solid criticism you'd like to help us improve with and think about, definitely leave that as well. I know one of our good friends who listens most weeks, I think, if not every week, I don't know. Jamie Penning, he left us some criticism one time, and we adjusted it. So it works both ways. Yeah.
And so did Luke, actually, which is good.
Yeah.
But the unfortunate thing about the episode that he commented on was that we lost half that episode.
We did.
Yeah.
We lost half an hour of it, and that was one of the times where it's just like, why? It just like it completely just like stopped recording us, and it just went to static. It's like,
yeah,
what?
and it cut off like the main content of the entire episode.
Yeah, where we actually talk about Nintendo.
Oh, so frustrating. Couldn't believe it. That was with Eric too.
Yeah. Anyway, Bryce, speaking of Nintendo, let's jump into what we've been playing, I guess.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah. So, what have you been playing? We'll start off with you, my friend, since you haven't been on for so long.
Animal Crossing.
Oh. Just
like a fair bit of
it. like the rest of the world?
Yeah, I mean, I've got my Switch here, so I slowly attempt to check my hours, but a lot of my time has been filled with either Animal Crossing and I've been revisiting Zelda, which has been really good, especially considering, no news about Breath of the Wild and the fact that, I may lose my bet because of coronavirus. So.
Oh, yeah, whatever. So a while back, Bryce and I made a bet that Bryce thought Breath of the Wild 2 was coming this year. I said, no, it won't be this year. It will be the next year. And we bet a pizza on it. And Bryce is making the excuse that it's because of coronavirus. Bryce, it was never coming even before the coronavirus. So
no way. No. They're reusing most of the game. They're focusing more on the story thing. They're reusing the entire map of Hyrule. I fail to believe that they're not going to have something that's a big hit at the end of this year during 2 major console releases to keep them afloat during Christmas time sales. There's no way.
Oh, they might want to save it for early next year too. So then they're out of the sort of crowded area of new consoles and launch games, and they get that second win sort of early next year as well.
But we don't know whether that's the case though, because they might be having games early next year post Christmas for those consoles, and that's the time when people have just gotten their first couple games in the holiday season. They're like, okay, now I'm looking for something new to play, and that's when they start building a library.
Yeah,
I don't know where Call of Duty this year is going to land. Whether it's going to land on everything like Black Ops 3 did. I think it was 3.
On everything. What do you mean?
Because Black Ops 3 multiplayer ended up on the previous generation consoles as well.
Oh yeah, gotcha. Yep.
Yeah. The campaign didn't, but the multiplayer did. So I'm not sure whether they're going to try and aim for the same thing this year. But again, when we're discussing it earlier, so I won't go into it because we're going into it as a topic. But I think, especially with the news as it's coming for Nintendo at the moment, is very, very shadow drop.
Yeah.
I think that, unfortunately, E3 would have been the time for them to drop a lot of information on Breath of the Wild 2. It's already been in development for a couple of years. It's already confirmed of reusing the same engine and world for a good extent for what it's worth, I suppose.
Mm-hmm.
So I still think it could have come this year, but I do think that because of Japan relatively remained fairly open, at least until just today, where they've released news that it's no longer considered a national emergency or whatever it is, and people can start going back to work. But it certainly would have taken a bit of a dig in development time, so I'm not too sure.
Yeah, definitely, yeah.
But considering it's been in work. In the works, rather, for as long as Breath of the Wild has been out, I still think it had a pretty good chance. But anyway, back to the actual topic. I've played 115 hours of Animal Crossing.
150? Holy shit.
115.
Oh, 15. Yeah, cool. That's still a decent amount. I've heard a lot more from other people around the place, but that's still that's still a fantastic effort you've put in there. I haven't quite put that much in. I've put in about 70 or 80 or so hours, but yeah, really, I've really been enjoying it. I've sort of fallen off it a little bit the last week and a half or so. Haven't put a lot into it. I don't know if I've even picked it up, to be honest. No particular reason. I've just sort of forgotten about it. I need to get back to it and keep up my routine of selling fruit and trying to make money all the time, as much as I can, so I can.
You just need to get on the friggin' turnip wagon.
Yeah, I do. But the problem is, like a lot of the time. Sunday is my good sleeping day, so I tend to miss it. I've missed it the last couple of weeks. I'm like, oh, whoops.
Just wake up, buy your turnips, then go back to sleep. And you're right.
Yeah, I know. I need to.
I've made like 15 mil off turnips.
15. Jeez.
15 mil. Yeah, because it's the internet era and it's a lot of people are playing this game. It's very easy to find high turnip prices.
Yeah. I'm in a fair few Discords too where people are sharing and the prices all the time and that too. So I've got no excuse, and I'm not making an excuse, Bryce. It's just
good.
That's what it is. Yeah.
Good. Yeah.
So tell me about your Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild adventures. You've gone back into the game and you're playing on hard mode and you're having a good time. Let me know about it.
Okay, so don't mind me taking a drink. So I want to get through master mode and I want to do 100%, and I've been really really delving in on it for a long time. And I thought, well, now's a perfect time. Like, why am I just beating around the bush? Might as well do it now.
Don't beat
so I went for it. Yeah, that's right. So I started going for it, and the initial idea was that I would go to each region, pop a tower. I would do all the shrines, then all the Korok seeds, and then move on. But I've done that for a couple of regions now, and now I'm kind of just like, I kind of need more hearts and more stamina just to make things easier. So instead, what I've been doing is I've been unlocking regions, doing all the shrines, and then marking the tower to know that I haven't done any Korok seeds in my area, and I just do not do Korok seeds in that area at all, so that I can eventually just pull up a guide and just go and tick them off. It just seems to be the best way to do it.
Yep.
I've done one Divine Beast, and yeah, apart from that, it's just been a slow burn. I went and picked up the Master Sword as well, tried to do Trial of the Sword. I'm not getting through that without...
I was going to say.
Well, I need... First of all, I would need to buy some Gold Heart fruit. I'd need to cook some Gold Heart fruit. And then I would need to buy 3 attack... well, god damn it, I keep saying buy. Because that's what I'll explain in a second anyway. Make 3 attack up food for 30 minutes so that I can rush through each area and still have that attack boost and not degrade weapons down quick enough and all that stuff. Because that's the major killer, is running out of weapons. And it's very easy to run out of weapons if you're not taking particular steps and like killing enemies where they can just be environmentally killed, like the goblins being blown up with bombs into water, or something along the lines of that. And then the other thing I've been doing is every time I'm going for a map roam, sometimes I might just go for a map roam. Even if it's into areas where I haven't unlocked the tower. I went and did Tarry Town in one of those. So I've always got my backup arrow shop. And if my Hylian shield ever breaks, because that's the first thing I do in every playthrough is go and get that thing, because I hate breakable shields.
Yeah.
And then, during my roams, I've just been marking off where Talus are and Hinox are. And then if I ever run out of weapons, I'll just go hunt down the Hinox and pick up theirs off their necklace and then run away. And then with the Talus, I go farm them every blood mood, and I come out with about, at the moment, probably about 12,000 rupees.
Yeah, not too bad, yeah.
And then I'm going to use that to fill out the compendium, because screw taking a picture of literally everything if I can pay a guy to do it for me.
Yep.
So, I'll just keep collecting rupees until I've got enough to say, hey, just buy most of the compendium for me. I'll still take pictures of the obvious things, but cutting grass and looking for a lizard to take a picture of. Yeah, I think I can just buy that. I don't think I want to do that, So,
yeah, I don't blame you. Yeah.
I saw I'm trying to do 100%. Sorry.
I saw on Twitter you actually pulled off that Guardian maneuver that's been sort of circulating. I saw that you pulled it off. That looked really cool.
It's so fun. It's very simple to pull off too. It's more annoying to pull off in master mode because the Guardian's axe sort of different. And they have delayed beams, but also they like to shoot off their lasers if something covers them on first glance.
Yep.
So they'll break your Cryonis immediately. So you usually have to put up a Cryonis, run behind it, let him shoot it, and then immediately put up another Cryonis so he doesn't do the same thing again.
Yep.
But when you do get the timing of it and you get it down, it's not too bad. And then I'm just like, I just want to go flip this thing a couple times, and that's what I did. And that's when I found out that they do actually come back if you do that. A lot of people that have been doing it have sort of not gone past that point where they flip them over the mountain or some crap.
Yeah.
But if you do wait around for a minute, they do come back. So you can just go over and over and over and over and over again just for fun. It's just funny to watch them. I need to try out some of the other stuff as well that people have discovered during this downtime. I know that there's 4 Guardians around Hyrule, broken ones where, usually you have the parts underneath them. Sometimes when you get to a decayed one, you'll be like, press A to take or whatever it may be. But the parts are actually spawned under the Guardian. And there's 4 of them you can move around Hyrule, and if you move them out of their spawn zone with a shield, like push them all the way out, they'll literally just start pooping out Guardian parts. And it saves you going around and killing them constantly.
Have you done that one yet?
I have not. I want to see it done though, so I'm gonna go ahead and try it. I need to learn a couple of other things. Like they've learnt a new technique for max glider speed, like they used to do with stasis, and that's bomb launching.
Oh god!
So
bomb turbo.
If you go, if you go into bullet time with your bow and then drop, I think it's the circle bomb, then switch your rune to the square bomb, and then switch your rune back to the circle bomb and blow it up. Because the square bomb has just spawned, it won't react like it usually does and blows up immediately when you put them together. And it will instead hit Link in the back and just send him flying. You'll lose a bit of hearts for it, but you get max glide speed out of it. So I want to try little stupid stuff like that as well.
Yeah. It's cool just how fun a playground it all is, just to play with all this, the different physics and everything in the game.
I think that's what's magical about that game, and why I wanted to go back to it. And with Breath of the Wild 2 seemingly being longer out, presuming that it was coming out this year, then there's more of the reason to get back into it, do a 100% run, and call it a run, I guess.
Yeah, I feel like I'm going to get back to it the next month or so. I reckon I want to go and give it a go again too. Get back into it, do it on hard mode, and see what I can do.
It takes a while to begin with because you're obviously starting off with a lot harder. But if there's one one tip I can give to you is go grab the Korok leaf because you'll save yourself so much time if you do.
Just blow all your enemies away. Like, no, go away.
Just blow all the bokoblins into the friggin' water, and then you can just go pick up their weapons, and then you've got a stash of weapons. And then obviously there's enemies that you can't, like the Lizalfos, but you know, as long as you can get rid of the meager enemies that you shouldn't waste your durability on with literal environmental damage, then it doesn't matter.
Yeah, there's like, when you're playing through Breath of the Wild, you know how you get to the point where you're pretty confident in your skills in the world, where you're just taking on Guardians and just like fucking everything up. Are you at that stage yet in hard mode? Do you get to that, or do you just sort of never feel safe because everything's that much more powerful?
I don't feel too bad with the Hinox and Talus because I feel like their difficulty doesn't change all that much. They just take more hits. So because of regenerating health, you've got to be more to the point quicker, and you've got to get back on them and start hitting them faster. Otherwise, you know, you're wasting your weapon's durability. But as for, you know, probably best example is Guardians, is that they're a lot more randomized now with how they shoot their beams. So you're not going to deflect one back every single time because it's not the same timing anymore. Sometimes they'll be delayed, sometimes they'll be on time. And then, you know, they like to move away from you a lot more, so you can't hit them with your ancient weapons in the legs, so they blow up instantly. Just little things like that, I think, is probably the more concerning thing. But as an actual approach to combat, it's more about trying to stick on the enemy as much as possible. Because if you do, you're wasting weapon. If you don't, rather, you're wasting weapon durability, which makes the fight longer, which runs you out of weapons faster. Regenerating health is the real killer in master mode.
Yeah, that's the one thing that makes me go, that doesn't sound like that much fun. Like, making everything harder and all that, I'm fine with, but just like the regenerating health, I'm like, oh, I don't know. And mix that with the weapon durability, it's kind of like, oh man, you know, you just like, if you like, you know, bugger up, you're just like wasting your equipment. But a bit of an extra challenge. Yeah.
Like stealth is your mate, is your biggest friend, and like I've noticed that the stealth really hasn't all changed that much when you've got the Sheikah set on. Like, when you're playing normally, they seem to, you know, without the Sheikah set, they completely notice you from wherever the hell you are. Like, if you're looking at an enemy, they probably see you. But if you've got the Sheikah set on, I've had enemies react completely differently. Like, I could be gliding right in front of their faces and they won't know I'm there. I'll land behind them and then I'll hit them in the back with a sneak strike and they're dead. Like, I don't know what it is, but the Sheikah set just seems to be very, 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 very powerful, especially in master mode.
Yeah, it sounds like a must get just to sneak around everything.
Yeah, even if you just get like the first upgrade, it's great.
I'll just be tiptoeing through the whole game, I think, just like, shh. Just like, don't see me, don't hit me, leave me alone.
Yeah, it's like that for the first couple of hours, and then you pick up some decent weapons, and you're like, I can kill things with this. And then if you do the things, like I said, with the Hinox and the Talus, like just marking where they are on your map, then you've always got a source of rupees and weapons. I suppose the other finite resource you run out of is arrows, but if you build Tarrytown, you can get heaps of arrows from the arrow shop in Tarrytown. If you've been killing Talus, you've got enough rupees to buy all those arrows, and I've got a huge stock of arrows now. It's like 60 plus of every arrow.
Oh, right.
So, you know, I'm never running out of that as long as I keep my stock up. And as long as I do my Talus rounds, it's, you know, maybe about 4,000 to 5,000 rupees on arrows just to keep my stock up every time. So it's not too bad.
Yeah, cool. As far as what I've been playing, the main thing I was playing on the weekend was Pokemon Go. So on it was yesterday actually. It was on Sunday. They had a CDOT Pokemon Go Community Day. So for 6 hours, CDOT was spawning in the wild, and the shiny chance was right up there. So I ended up getting 20 shinies in the end. Bryce, I saw that you participated in it as well. How many shinies did you end up getting in the end?
I've got about 7 or 8, and they're all trash.
Yeah, all 20 of mine were trash, and I actually got 2 perfect IV CDOT as well, just normal ones, but they were perfect IV. I got 2 of them, but all of my shinies were rubbish.
Yeah.
Actually, I did get a few 2 stars, so that's fine, but nothing to go home about. But a lot of them were just like 0 star. They were all pretty bad. So yeah.
How many candies did you end up with?
I ended up with over 1,000.
I came out with about 600.
Yeah. Because I ended up using them all. I just evolved a heap of C-Dot to get just a ton of XP. And throughout the day, I was like really aiming to get as much XP as possible. I started off, I was level 32 and I had about 100,000 experience to go until I reached level 33, my trainer level. And I ended up getting to level 33, and over level 33, I ended up with 500,000 XP. So I earned 500,000 experience in that one day. Like I'd earned like a shitload. I caught that much stuff. Just with the bonuses and lucky eggs activated, I just got so much XP. It's just through the roof. I was really, really happy with that. That was one of the most exciting things for the day, because I'm really trying to aim for level 40 in the game so I can start adding Pokestops to the place. There's a lot of things around the place, around down here, sort of in the rural South Australia, that need Pokestops still. And I looked up how much XP it is to get to level 40. Level 40, and it's 20 million XP to get to level 40.
So the day was good for you then.
Yeah, but the level creep is insane. So basically, so far, to get to level 33, I've earned a bit over 4 million XP. So from here, from level 33 to level 40, it's over 15 million XP still. Not even halfway.
Yeah.
So holy shit, I don't think it's happening this year, and it might not happen the year after, even if I play it hardcore.
I think that's the biggest thing that frustrates me with Pokemon Go. Like, I understand having like a level requirement for helping add Pokestops, but max level is when you're living in a country town. Like, we've met a lot of players, especially you, I suppose, because you're the one that introduced me to the group, where they're high up there, but they also look like people that don't quit.
Yeah, they're pretty. We found like a group of like really hardcore players. Like each of them have 2 phones, like in an iPad with them at all times. Like they've got multiple accounts. If you say, "Hey, there's a raid on at 8 o'clock," they will be there, which is great for us, especially now that they're a remote raid. So they might drive out there, and I can just sit at home and just remote raid. I actually did a raid remotely from my house just while I was organising the show about an hour and a half ago. So yeah, that was really useful. And I got to say, just like with all the changes they've made with the world changing coronavirus, people having to stay home, the changes that they've made to Pokemon Go have made the game a lot more fun. Just being a little bit more lax with it all. Like, here's a few more Pokeballs from gifts, and you can do remote raids, and just like being able to actually enjoy the game at home as well as going out. I think it makes the game a lot better, because usually you'll go out, you'll catch some stuff, you'll go home, and you'll just be stuck there with sort of nothing to do. But I like being able to do like the Pokemon Go Battle League. That's a lot of fun. Usually that's going to require you to do 5Ks before you can do another battle. But at the moment, it's just like, do as many as you like without doing any steps. And to be honest, I want it to stay like that. It's just kind of annoying how, like, if I do a battle at home, it's like you can't do anymore. You got to put the game down. I don't see why. I see like the Battle League as a good alternative to do some battling at home while you're not out and about. But you can go out and catch stuff and do raids, during the day. But that's up to Niantic. We'll see sort of what they get up to.
Yeah, but putting it behind too much of a harsh requirement would really damage it, I think.
Yeah, and it seems like they are going to go back that way, but we'll see once most countries are sort of back to everyday life. But one of the funniest things that came out of yesterday was I was driving. I was like driving to another cluster of Pokestops, and I get a buzz on my phone. It says that someone knocked out 2 of my Pokemon from 2 gyms that are pretty much right next to each other, and they'd been in there for about 2 hours. I'm like, you fucking kidding? So I drove back to the gym, and one of the girls, she was leaning against the wall and she was on her phone. She was obviously playing Pokemon Go. So I'm like, you're the one that kicked the Pokemon out of the gym. So what I did is I parked the car, and I pretty much parked parked to where I could see it, and I like got out my phone. I went into the gym and I beat her Pokemon and I kicked it out. But I fought, and she was looking around. She was looking around like pretty frustrated. She couldn't see me in the car. I'm like, oh God. So I thought to myself, like, I better not put anything in the gym because you'll know who kicked it out. Because I don't want to start a riot. It's we've got a small little group around here, and I don't want someone targeting my Pokemon in gyms because I want the daily coin rewards, right? So basically, what I did is I kicked their Pokemon out for basically a bit of a fuck you for like kicking my Pokemon out so early. But then I went, I'm not going to put anything in there because I know I'll hear about it. So I just drove off. I left an empty gym. And when you leave an empty gym, if she goes to put something back in there, it just says, you don't have the right to put it in. So I just left an empty gym.
Oh my God, you terrible person.
Yeah, I know. Hopefully no one listens to that, but yeah, it is what it is, really. Yeah. So you just experienced the day from home and just caught a good handful of shinies from home?
Yeah, I just tucked down a 3-hour incense and
yeah,
had at it. I was hoping to get a decent shiny, but I didn't. So
yeah, I see Jamie Penning.
I guess
Jamie Penning, he got a 4-star shiny, which is just incredible. Yeah.
Jamie, how dare you? Share.
Yeah, because basically with the incense and how they're doing the community days, it is designed to be played from home, just with everything that's been impacted by coronavirus. So.
Mind you, I'm struggling doing this one from home, the current one.
Yeah, well, I was about to ask, how was the experience of playing it from home?
I mean, I haven't. I've been doing the other ones every now and then. Like if I go out to the shop or whatever, I'll open up, spin a couple Pokestops or whatever it may be, catch a couple Pokemon. But with the Sinnoh throwback, I've struggled to get past catch a fighting type. I cannot find one. It's all Snover in town. That's all I see.
There's heaps of fighting types. There's a fair few Squawk getting around. There's, for some reason,
every time I've gone out, I've not found a fighting type.
All right.
For the last 2 days, and like I said, it's only like a quick I'll stop at a Pokestop and see what Pokemon are there. But it's usually the cluster near the museum, and I still don't find a fighting type. And I'm like, oh my God, just give me one so I can progress this, get my Cresselia and get out because I can't be bothered.
I was actually out at the farm the other day, and out at the farm, obviously it's not in town, so there's absolutely nothing there to play Pokemon Go with. But with the changes that they've made to the incense, Pokemon actually spawn out there now when I use an incense. So I was walking around the paddocks and I was playing Pokemon Go, and I was just relying on what was coming through the incense, 1 per minute or whatever the rate is. And I think this was for the Hoenn throwback, and it was the same thing. It was for a catch a fighting type, and before I got to that part of the challenge, I caught like 3 Makuhita, and literally the rest of the incense, when I had to catch a fighting type, not one Makuhita popped up. I'm like, you kidding me? And some nice stuff was popping up. There was like Anorith, there was Lilip was popping up. There was like a lot of nice Pokemon. But I'm like, I just want a Makuhita, man. I just want to get this bit of the challenge done. But yeah, it wasn't working for me.
It's exactly what I'm going through right now. Except for some reason, I just cannot find one in town. I don't know what the deal is. Yeah. I've tracked on an incense and I still can't even find one on that.
Well, you've got to Friday 1:00, so make sure you get it done so you can get your Cresselia.
Look, I'll try, but we'll see what the game wants to give me. I'm not too fussed about Cresselia anyway.
Yeah, I'm a bit disappointed that it's not Palkia or Dialga or something cool. But
I'm a little bit disappointed the Hoenn one wasn't just Rayquaza. I don't know what was Groudon.
Oh, Groudon's cool though.
I like Groudon. Don't get me wrong, but
I think you said you hate Groudon. Is that just anyone else? I
just think it'd be like a version neutral thing.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah, stop. A version neutral thing, and like being Rayquaza just seems to be like how Giratina was sort of kicking around. When was it?
It's a few weeks ago. Yeah.
Yeah. And it just sort of was popping up every now and then, and I saw a shit ton of Sinnoh Pokemon. I don't know whether that was related, but it seemed to happen a lot.
Yeah. Yeah. So do you feel like you're enjoying Pokemon Go with the little bits you're playing here and there? You feel like it's fitting in with your lifestyle, or?
Oh, look, I'm not about to get dedicated. at the end of the day, Pokemon Go is Pokemon Go. I've always had my mixed feelings about it. I feel like it's a good time to play it right now, but yeah, I don't know. See what happens when they reintroduce what they want to do with the Battle League and stuff, because again, yeah, that's probably like getting the rewards from that. That is satisfying.
Yeah, getting some Metagross, that's pretty cool.
Yeah, I got 2 of them.
Yeah, I did
got
too.
2.
Yeah, so
Yeah,
I got like a 2-star one on my second one compared to my better one I got before. So the 2-star one I just like plump into gyms to hold them. Yeah.
I got 2 3-stars, so I've been pretty well off.
Nice.
Yeah, but yeah, for them to change that, and if they put some restrictions on it and stuff like that, it's just something I can do on Pokemon Go where I don't have to get up and go out, and it just feels kind of pointless to attach anything like that.
Yeah.
To it.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah. I've been to be honest, throughout these throwback events, I've been pretty obsessed with it. I've been really enjoying it, just with all the changes they've made, and giving you something different each week is really nice, and it's just refreshing each week to be able to catch some of these Pokemon. But
yeah.
Alas, Bryce, we better move into the news, my friends, since we are 46 minutes already into the show. So
yeah, it's been a lot of catch-up time.
It has been. All right, Bryce, let's jump into the news. Ooh, yabba yabba do.
Woohoo! Yeah! Pika, pika! Is that all?
I fight for my friends.
Wahoo!
My body is still.
All right, Bryce, are you excited for Metroid Prime trilogy?
Yeah.
Well, a Swedish retailer updates its listings for Metroid Prime trilogy and Switch, and they say that it's arriving next month. So this news article is from Nintendo Life.
This is the same one apparently leaked it too, wasn't it?
Yeah, so last year for the Game Awards. So the article reads, there have been ongoing rumors about Metroid Prime trilogy coming to the Nintendo Switch for a few years now, yet it's still nowhere to be seen. Is it real or is it fake? No one is entirely sure, but it seems to keep popping up here and there. In the latest update, we've now got a Swedish retailer by the name of iNet claiming this trilogy collection will be releasing next month on the 19th of June. If the name sounds familiar, that's because it's the same, quote, reliable retailer that first listed the game not long after Reggie was spotted wearing a Metroid t-shirt alongside Jeff Keighley around the time of the Game Awards in 2018. The last time we heard about the possible return of this Wii collection was actually a few weeks ago, alongside the rumor about a deluxe version of Pikmin 3, when video game historian and Nintendo Life contributor Liam Robertson said both games were real. Before this, at the beginning of 2018, Imran Khan, the former senior editor of Game Informer, said the Metroid Prime collection for Switch had been long done, and the reveal was originally planned for December 2018. So, with the information we've sort of gone, which is literally just a webpage that says Metroid Prime Trilogy, and it's got the box art from the Wii Metroid Prime Trilogy collection with a bit of a red dot or red square in the top left corner representing...
Not even the logo.
Without the logo, is interesting, I guess. But next, first of all, the game probably does exist. It makes sense that they're just holding it until they can have a bit more of a solid idea of when Metroid Prime 4 is coming out, so they can sort of plan the release of the trilogy to be marketing pretty much for the fourth game in the series. I can see that, but just like in May, just even if they announce it this week, Bryce, before Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition comes out, just be like, all right, next month, Metroid Prime Trilogy, bam, 19th of June, it's coming. That's incredibly random, and that's an incredibly quick turnaround, even for a collection of old GameCube games and obviously one Wii game.
That, and they just shadow dropped Origami King.
Yeah, exactly,
and it's for a later date.
Yeah, and even for that, that's a 2-month gap. I think that's a good time to sort of let people know about it, whether it's organising money for pre-orders or just getting it in people's minds, so when they do finally see it in the shop, they go, "Oh, yeah, we'll pick that up." But not like basically, a month between release. I don't see that happening. But even for this year, going on until December this year, do you see a Metroid Prime trilogy sort of working its way onto Switch this year, or do you see it sort of coming out when we know at least a bit more about Prime 4?
Look, I don't think it's impossible. I think it could release at any time. I'm not of the mind that they're going to play an absolute marketing strategy with this collection, because realistically, if you wanted to right now, you could go boot up your Wii U. It's $27, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like it's not like you're missing anything not having it on Switch. Like just as Metroid Prime 4 is getting the hype up or whatever it may be, I think that this is something that could be released in a gap at any time. It could happen this year, but if they do play the marketing strategy, like you said, it won't be closer till then. I just believe that it will be a filler game, rather than a marketing tool.
Yeah, I mean, it could still be both as well. It could be a filler game and like, oh, well, it won't hurt. Because I think you would agree that they definitely need to release the trilogy on Switch just to give people the experience of like what the franchise is about. Because a lot of people have not played any Metroid Prime games. These games came out on GameCube, and there's been a lot of time between then and now. So if someone's in high school at the moment, these games literally came out before they were born. Yeah,
you're not wrong. I think
that's mass.
I think it is important for them to be there. But I think that's more or less because the trilogy came out late in the Wii's life cycle, and 2, nobody really owns a Wii U. And when they're doing something as ambitious as Prime 4, which is obviously being blown up to all hell. Everybody's excited for it. They want to know more. They've had to drop development and give it back to Retro, who are now developing it. And just a whole lot of hodgepodge of like, we really didn't know what we were doing when we said we announced this game.
Yeah, obviously.
Yeah. So it has sort of just come full circle of where it's sort of like, if you want to go back and play the trilogy, you have to go back a couple console generations. And even then, it has to be to something that is not widely accessible, which is the Wii U, unless you go to a bargain bin and it happens to be in there, or going all the way back to Wii. But finding the trilogy collection on the Wii is pretty hard.
I still got Dan's copy. He let me borrow it years ago, and I sort of got to the point where I'm like, I don't want to play it on Wii. I want to play it in a HD. Even it obviously comes out as a virtual console game on Wii U. But yeah, that was at the time too where I wasn't motivated to
play it.
To play it still, yeah. I think just giving you the option of having just normal controls again, I think that'll be a big turn on for a lot of people, because as well as the pointer controls with the Wiimote did work with the trilogy collection, it will be nice just to go back to it will be nice to go back to just like analog sticks and play it as you would like a adventure game or a first person shooter.
Yeah, not weird analog sticks. Like you got to think about it. The first 2 games of the Prime trilogy, they were played with a GameCube controller that had 2 differently sized sticks, which was a little bit weird.
Yeah.
It did feel a little bit odd. That controller was really not 100% made for first-person shooters.
No.
So yeah, it's sort of a case of, well, at least we'll have 2 the same size sticks now, and that'd be number 1. Having some gyro adjustment wouldn't hurt though. Like I've found that in Breath of the Wild, or and in a lot of cases Splatoon, a lot of people are happy with gyro adjustment.
Yeah. And like Bethesda games have sort of adapted to it as well, because the Switch audience enjoys that, myself included. So I definitely see that happening. Nintendo seems to embrace that a fair bit too in the Zelda games and a fair few of their games, even if it's just simple camera controls.
Yeah, that's right. Yeah.
All right. So hopefully, that'd be great if that comes out this year, but we'll
definitely
see.
Not coming in the next few weeks. No way.
Yeah, June 19th. Calm the fuck down. All right.
Yeah.
INET.
Yeah.
Sweden.
Don't. Yeah. No. Whoever's suggesting that is really talking out their ass.
Yeah, just right out their bum. But
Mhm.
if they're talking out their mouth, fantastic. I'll buy it. So next up, Bryce. This is another one from Nintendo Life. And Team Ketchup wins Splatoon 2's bonus one-off Splatfest. So before we start, what team were you? Were you Mayo or were you Ketchup?
I did not play.
Oh, I did not play either, but
Ketchup.
you'll Ketchup. Okay, I was Ketchup as well, so I'm happy to see this news. There's a lot of Mayo people, and they were defeated. So
I'm curious why they brought back this one, the one that everybody memed to be two different fluids.
Yes,
rather than mayo and ketchup.
Well, but it was one of the closest ones, and it was the first one, so it's kind of like going back to your roots type of thing. And it was really close the first time, so I think this was like, all right, this is going to be the definitive answer. But this time, I was actually watching one of Luke's streams that he did, and they didn't use white and red this time for the paint. So maybe they learned their lesson. I don't know.
Yeah, probably a good idea.
But as far as the article goes, it says Nintendo's bonus one-off Splatfest for Splatoon 2 had come to an end. So who won? Team Ketchup has emerged from this saucy battle victorious with a 2-1 win. It makes up for its original loss to Team Mayo way back in 2017. As you can see from the final results, which you can't see, but Ketchup won on the votes of 55.25% and also got the most wins in the pro matches for 50.38%, while Mayo took out the normal games at 51.71%. So it was a pretty close all round, really. But it only just won in both each category. So now that that's over, we can finally agree that put whatever you want on your sandwich. Who gives a hell? You don't have to worry about it. Just enjoy what you like, man. All right.
I think the question comes down to what's the more versatile sauce rather than what do I want on my sandwich.
Well,
because damn, I wouldn't want to put mayo on a hot dog.
Yeah, but people do, man. People do.
I know they do. But there's something. If you want a creamy sauce, put cream cheese with it or something, not mayo.
I was listening to people talk about putting it, like dipping their chips in it. I'm like, what is going on in your part of the world or country or wherever you are?
That's
Jesus.
not totally far-fetched because garlic aioli exists, and that's pretty much mayo with garlic. So
no, well,
it's not the most far-fetched thing in the world, but I just think that mayo has far limited uses.
I mean, if it was aioli versus ketchup, I've got to go aioli. But
oh yeah, for sure.
We're not. But that's not the battle that went on, and ketchup took over.
We're not animals.
No, we're not animals around here. So next up, this is also from Nintendo Life. The Switch Joy-Con drift claim must be abbreviated, says the federal court. So this is about Nintendo trying to, someone's trying to sue Nintendo for the Joy-Con drift. I haven't really gone into this article yet either, so I'll be learning along with you guys. So the article reads, if you're one of the many people that has suffered from Joy-Con drift in the past, you might be interested to know that a legal claim by a Switch owner that Nintendo America has sold defective controllers with its consoles must go to, what was that word I said before? Abbreviation? I think so.
Abbreviation?
It's not an abbreviation.
I don't know.
I don't know what I'm saying. The decision was made on Tuesday by the U.S. District Court for the Northern District's proceedings over the case of Zachary V. Gardra, who assesses that the Joy-Con controllers have a fault which causes the joystick to activate or drift on its own without the user actually manipulating the joystick, which is an issue that significantly interferes with gameplay. The lawsuit includes claims for violations of consumer protection laws, breach of warranty, and unjust enrichment. And he is seeking for unspecified damages as well as his attorney and legal costs. U.S. District Judge Gary Feinerman stated that Vanguard must ask the abrader whether his alleged claim being in court or they're actually subject to a clause in the end user agreement Vanguard must have agreed to when he first purchased the Switch itself. The outcome of cases like these could have a dramatic impact on how Nintendo handles future problems with the Joy-Con controllers. So it doesn't actually sound like Nintendo lost this one, which is surprising because there's a lot of evidence towards Nintendo that Joy-Con drift is very much a problem. There was a reaction video that someone finally found one of their favorite villages in Animal Crossing, and he lost his shit and he just dropped his controller and he went off screaming in the background. But his controller must have had drift. It was slowly walking off of the island. It was really funny to watch. All the comments were just this guy's got Joy-Con drift. Something bad. So yeah, I know the two of us, we haven't actually had Joy-Con drift, and I've got I've got two pairs of Joy-Cons and since launch, and I've never had a problem of drift on them. I've got two lights as well, which haven't had drift, and I know Bryce, you haven't had any problems with drift either. So
no. I was actually talking about this on Reddit the other day. Somebody. It was a conversation about Joy-Con drift over a meme, I think it was. And what I'd said, which I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. I don't think I'm going to be able to find it. But I basically said that, when we talked about it, when the issue was apparent and, whatever it may be, that us two, we never had it. We never had the problem and still haven't had the problem. And that, after we recorded and stuff like that, a lot of people sort of chimed in and said, we've got problems. And,
a lot of people did.
I've had to take a set of Joy-Cons back or whatever it may be, because we questioned whether, people were sort of being rougher with them or whatever it may be. Because to be honest, I've had kids with them, and they've stuffed around with my Switch, and I've never really had any problems. And
one of my Joy-Cons went through the washing machine, and it's perfectly fine.
Yeah, exactly. Except for the LED lights on it, that was the only recurring problem, right? Yeah. So that's what I said as well. I'm like, he literally had a Joy-Con go through a washing machine. There was still nothing wrong with it. So don't really know whether it's just a problem on the manufacturing floor, and it seems a lot less prevalent nowadays. So did they do something about it?
No, because a lot of people are still talking about it, whether it's on social media and that. And I know on Nintendo Voice Chat, IGN's Nintendo podcast, they did a whole episode basically talking about the problems of Joy-Con drift, because one of the editors there, Tom Marks, he actually put out an article. Can't remember the exact name of the title, but it was pretty much we've got to put an end to Joy-Con drift or something like that. And a lot of those people on that podcast were talking about how they've experienced it or are currently experiencing it. So it sounds like a lot of people do have it here and there. So it is a big problem, because it would be so annoying to have it. I couldn't imagine trying to play a game and it's just trying to move your character in just one direction the whole time. It's actually funny because I did think I had it at one point. I'm like, oh no, I've got Joy-Con drift, but it was actually my Pro controller synced to my Switch, but it was in my laptop bag, so it was just holding the stick to the left. I'm like, oh no, I've got drift, but it was just my Pro controller just activated somewhere. Yeah, so.
And it's instinctual, because you're like, oh god, I've been hearing about Joy-Con drift all the time, and then something like that happens. You're like, oh shit, I've got it.
Maybe that's how Nintendo got away with this. It's just have you checked your laptop bag? Your Pro controller might be synced in there.
Under the solutions list. And you know what? That's actually a valid thing to check for, as we've learned.
Yeah. Because it literally happened to me where I'm like, oh no. I think it's happened to other people too, but yeah. Anyway, let's move away from that. So this is another one from Nintendo Life. We've got a few Nintendo Life articles here. So Platinum Studio head doesn't think next-gen hardware will be as groundbreaking as the Switch. So one person who has been struggling to get excited about Sony and Microsoft's next generation hardware is Platinum Games studio head Atsushi Inaba. Here's what he had to say in a follow-up with VGC recently. I don't want to sound like, hey, I know everything about new consoles and they're boring, but with the information that I have now, I haven't seen any extremely big surprises. End quote. So what's a surprise for him? Apparently it's the groundbreaking design of the Nintendo Switch. He goes on to explain how the hybrid system opened up new possibilities, much like the Game Boy and DS generations. While Inaba thinks Microsoft and Sony could have a game-changing quality in their next generation systems, at the moment it seems to be all about improvements such as visual enhancements. Quote, when you're simply seeing graphical improvements or just faster, bigger, obviously it's nice, but it doesn't have the same inventive quality that really surprised me with past consoles, end quote. Back in his younger years, he recalls how graphics had more of an upgrade and that people were blown away by each generation. One highlight for him was the leap from the Super Nintendo to the PlayStation, which was a huge jump. While the head of Platinum is happy developers have better technology to work with, he feels like it's a predictable future. Quote, there's not the extreme surprise or the unpredicted quality that I felt from the leap to previous consoles. Now I see the announcements and think, oh, that's cool. And then the next minute I think, what should I watch tonight on Netflix? End quote. So this is obviously just Inaba's opinion. It's nothing more than that. But I guess this is just a good way for us to talk about a little bit about how we feel about PlayStation 5 and Xbox Series X moving into launch later this year, and maybe how it will affect sort of Nintendo Switch going into 2021. So how are you feeling about Xbox and PlayStation going into the next generation?
I mean, I'm going to buy into the generation. I'm not going to, beat around the bush and act like I'm not going to do it. But to a degree, I think he's right, because it has become a race of like how we can improve, not what boundaries can we break.
Mm-hmm.
That's just what it seems to be right now, is what boundaries can we break. And I mean, like, trying to eliminate load times and stuff, that's all nice. And it's definitely a quality of life thing. But, you can make an absolutely incredible game, give it load times, and it's still an incredible game, despite the fact it's got some shitty load times.
Yeah. Yeah. I feel like with just like, I'm looking at PlayStation 4 games now and Xbox One games, like a lot of them look phenomenal now, especially late in the generation where developers are a lot more familiar with the tools and everything. And moving into next generation, I just feel like most of the improvements are on the developers' side of things. So they'll be able to have a lot less limitations on what they can do. One of the demonstrations from Mark Cerny when he sort of went in a deep dive into the specs of the PlayStation 4 was that traditionally, like back with, I think it was Jack and Daxter, that a part of the level design was designed to incorporate the loading of that overworld level. Whereas with the SSD and everything in the new generation consoles, they really don't have to worry about that. They can just make the world how they see it in their head, rather than think about how is it going to load when players are going towards it or whatever. And we see that a lot with, like, say, elevator scenes and whatever. That's just a mask to sort of hide loading times. So a lot of it's going to be great for them. And I think what we're mainly going to get out of it is just more freedom from the developers to make the games they want to make. But as far as putting it under your TV and seeing what changes are going to be made, it's going to be like, oh, that booted up quick, and holy crap, this looks really impressive. But as far as we know, because we don't know a lot about PS5 just yet, it seems like that's going to be the extent of it. But as a gamer, I think that's sort of enough for me. I don't know. It would be nice to be like, holy shit, this is really cool, but I don't know what we can expect at the moment. Like, for example, back in the day, the Wii really surprised people, just like with how different it was and a new way to play and everything. But we've sort of moved past that in the gaming industry now where we don't really want that much change. We just want improvements, and I think that's really is what we're getting with the next console. So I don't know.
I mean, I think the Switch is sort of a testament that people still like nice surprises.
Yeah,
You know, I'm. You know what? I'm a little bit of a hypocrite because I would like to say that this is where I would want Nintendo to stick from now on.
yeah. For Nintendo, yes, yeah.
Because the reason being is not because you know, you got to sell more consoles or whatever it may be, but like I think having all that development shift to one hybrid console where people can play them wherever is not only going to just sell more systems, but it's also going to be good for their internal development and having to work with two different types of hardware rather than just one.
Yeah, for sure.
It cuts down production costs. It cuts down time. You know, there's so much positive in just relying on a Switch-like system where they can tackle both their handheld markets and their home console markets all in one bang. It's, you know, pretty much genius for what they need. Because historically their handhelds have always done amazingly well. And playing any game that they can develop on the go, and especially with those partnerships with NVIDIA and the Shield technology and all that, you can't really go wrong. So I want to see it. I want to see that come tradition.
Yeah.
But if it doesn't become tradition, then you know what is next for Nintendo? What is honestly going to beat the Switch with how much it's got it jam packed into it? the next iteration of the Switch, the Pro, as most of us keep calling it, we want it to be better at processing. You know, a bit more responsible with power. We want it to have better Joy-Cons and stuff like that. And I think that could all come well in more of a sequel iteration than it would a Pro. But with that happening, I think, you know, it would largely depend on how far they let it run through, whether they let it go through half the next generation again, give the Switch another 7-year life cycle. Because, I mean, you and I, we've both had our Switches all the way from launch day. It's been a couple of years now. You know, it's been 3 years. I'd like to say we've both put over, you know, well over 1,000 hours worth of time into our Switches with the amount of games we've got. And the only problem with mine is that probably the back plate needs replacing.
Yeah, that's the same. That's the same on mine. Mine's got the exact same crack.
Yeah, exactly. So it's sort of like, yeah, there is little design flaws and stuff like that they could really like diligently fix. But I think for Nintendo's sake, it's pretty much the best way to tackle both their markets and get everybody invested in both sides of Nintendo rather than just the one. Because a lot of kids you'll see, they'll have like a PS4 for their Fortnite or, you know, whatever they're playing at the time. Apex Legends, I don't know. You take your pick. There's a lot of free to play games. But then, you know, you also have something to keep them entertained on the run, and that's usually either like a mobile phone or a Switch or, you know, something along the lines of that. 3DS, you know, kids are always on the move. But
PlayStation Vita, all the kids love their Vitas still, so don't forget that.
All the kids love their Vitas. But yeah, I think, you know, it's the perfect market for them, and they can't really go wrong. Everybody loves Nintendo for their handheld qualities. You know, Game Boy has historically as a brand that absolutely smashed mobile gaming into oblivion.
The Game Boy, there was no mobile gaming back then.
What do you mean? I'm talking about on the move gaming, not app based gaming.
Okay, gotcha.
Like you are on the move, you are mobile. God, has it really gotten that far?
It has.
We treat that word.
all I pictured,
a single meaning.
All I pictured was you were just like, yeah, you know, the Game Boy is just so much better than playing Snake on your old Nokia. It was just just smashed it.
No, I'm talking about its competitors. Like, you know, you've got the cheap knockoff games, and then you've got the small iterations like the what was the mobile Sega called? The Mobius?
Not sure. There was the Game Gear though.
Something like that. The Game Gear as well. Yeah, but the Mobius was like a like it was literally a Dreamcast, I think, that you could plug Dreamcast games into.
Oh yeah. No, it wasn't the Dreamcast. It was the
Genesis.
the Genesis. You could play
there you
Genesis games. Yeah, the Dreamcast was played discs. Remember?
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
But just it's just things like that. Game Boy has always historically been on top of the pile, and Nintendo has always been on top of the pile when it comes to mobile gaming. There's no ifs and or buts about it. And yes, no, not app gaming.
Yep.
We're going to call it app gaming and mobile gaming because we're on the move now. Okay.
Just call it handheld gaming, man. I
mean, fine. We'll call it handheld.
Just like everyone else, just call it what it's called.
Look, I know I'm brain farting, and let me keep going. Anyway, yes, that's exactly right. But the Switch is the perfect answer to getting those people who want a decent home Nintendo console, but also having the benefits of a handheld without having to buy two consoles. And if you condense all of that in one market, with an incredible little piece of tech, which both the Switch and I'd like to say the Switch Lite do, then you're only going to see positives.
Yeah.
You won't have to worry about which of our consoles is doing better, the handheld one or the home one. You've got it in one thing, and it's just worked out so well. I'd hate to see them move back to a box again. I would like a box. I would like a box to some degree. Like if they made an offshoot thing where it's just like, oh, here's just like a basic box that you could plug in your TV and play your Switch games on.
Yeah,
I think that would be good.
It'll feel a bit vanilla now, wouldn't it? It's a bit boring.
It would feel a bit vanilla, but the thing is like into the future, like you're looking forward, maybe a decade or something like that. Switches aren't going to be as viable 10 years into the future. You've held on to yours for 15 years. They're not going to last like retro consoles do. Just like the current, like even current console generations, they probably wouldn't be the same in 10 years. No, they won't.
Your PS4 fan,
as sturdy as they used to be.
Yeah, your PS4 fan would just like it would have like flung out and stabbed you in the head by the 10-year mark or so.
Literally, yeah. It's just so for the longevity side of things, like they get near the end of the console's life and they go, oh, here's a box and it's something that you can keep that's a bit more permanent that you can play your old Switch games on. Cool, like the Retron essentially, and be like, yeah, sweet, all right, cool. Buy it and consider that your Switch game player or some bullshit, just something along the lines of that. Because there is going to be a time where those tablets are getting too old and they are just going to go kaput, and it's going to be very hard to repair them. So
that's where we got to. That's where you got to after the Platinum Inaba doesn't think the next generation is going to be groundbreaking. Like
like I said, he's right. He's right.
All right. So next up, also from Nintendo Life, PETA isn't happy with Animal Crossing's Blathers or his fish trapping museum. And the article reads, animal rights group PETA is no stranger to jumping on bandwagons to promote its cause and has already targeted Animal Crossing's New Horizons in the past. Now the organisation is rising against Blathers, the humble and easily spooked owl of the game's sprawling museum. The group staged a TikTok-based invasion of the museum to rally against sea life being held in captivity. As you can see from the footage, which you can't see, but if you search it, you will find it on, TikTok and YouTube and all of that. Blathers is rather spooked by the incursion and the fact that it is, to quote the text, cancelled. So, PETA are trying to cancel Blathers, Bryce, and I for one will not stand by. I reckon this is just kind of bullshit. Obviously, it's not one of the big no-nos of what PETA's done in the past. I think we can all sort of assume that they mean well, but I think just when it comes down to it, just the way the world works, PETA's ideas don't always work
I mean, I just want to break it down real quick. You do realize that even when you're handing over bugs, something he really, really hates, he mentions that he will handle it and treat it with the utmost of care. So he's obviously feeding them and providing them food and stuff like that. They're in captivity now, yeah, but they're being cared for preservation reasons. Like, technically humans should have started hundreds of years ago, because look at how much we've made extinct now. But
but when it comes down to it, it's like, whatever your opinions on captivity and all of that are, whatever, but they do realize Blathers is an owl.
Yeah.
Like he is an animal. Stop abusing Blathers.
Yeah.
What did he ever do to you?
True.
Jeez. Jesus Christ, Peter. It's not...
Poor owl. Hoo.
Yeah. Hoot. All right. So let's move past that one. So this one's from Nintendo Enthusiast, and it says, to Nintendo's dismay, a 3DS emulator is now on Android. So the article reads, "We all know that Nintendo is not a fan of the emulation community, especially if it's not involving especially if it's involving anything with the circulation of ROMs or ISOs. And now there's yet another thorn stuck in the side. The first 3DS emulator for mobile devices has been released for Android. This emulator is Citra. Citra has been in development for several years now, though a lot of the progress has been happening over on PC. Now it's migrated to mobile devices, which definitely feels like it's a bit more natural habitat. The emulator has even been able to replicate 3DS features like camera, microphone support, along with motion controls. For a more traditional experience, external game pads are able to be used. Though it's walking on thin legal ice. While this 3DS emulator is available for free, there is a premium version that is also available as an in-app purchase. This could potentially give Nintendo leeway to go ahead and try to throw a legal slap at the team behind Citra, though that's left to be seen. Emulation within itself is not illegal. Where legality really enters the picture is when it comes to distribution of games that is copyrighted material. In short, downloading any game from unauthorized source, even if you own a physical version, is not legal. So, a 3DS emulator on Android devices, Bryce. What does this mean for the 3DS, which is, pretty much already dead at this stage, but I'm sure it still sells a decent amount of software for Nintendo to still care about it enough that there's an emulator on another mobile platform. So how does this strike you?
I'm not sure what the current situation is with Citra, to be honest. Like the actual original emulator itself on PC, because I remember playing with it, when Sun and Moon came out. But as for it working on Android, I don't know.
Yeah, and like what we said before, it'd be weird playing a 3DS game just on a phone, but if you can hook it up with a gamepad, that will fix a little bit of the problems. But just obviously, there's a problem of just having the one screen on your phone. So whether it's putting them smaller, just side by side on your screen, that's not necessarily ideal either. So. I couldn't imagine it being at too good an experience. So, like 3DSs, especially 2DSs, are so cheap now. If you're really interested in trying the library, it's not that hard or expensive to jump in and buy a cheap, even a second-hand system or whatever. So, yeah, because I know if I was going to put a few hours into a game, whether it's say 15 hours into Ocarina of Time or whatever game you're interested in, I wouldn't want to experience it like that, just on a phone.
No, absolutely not.
But it's cool that it's working. It's a cool thing just to say, hey, I'm playing this 3DS game on the phone and say, oh, cool. But actually, the act of playing it seems a bit meh.
For leaps in technology and software development, I think it's interesting to see what you can get working.
Yeah,
it does kind of drive the motivation a bit more for developers and stuff like that to think about mobile or PC gaming as a typical thing. And while I don't want handhelds and the like to die in place of mobile gaming, because I think we all know where anything will go in that route. I think Mario Kart Tour is a very telling sign of what would happen if they tried to put a proper Mario Kart game on the platform.
Yes.
But it would be interesting to see developers maybe pushing more of their unique ideas on a mobile platform where they're easily accessible. And having something that's, the power of the 3DS operating on a mobile phone is very telling of what you can do with it. There's some already really pretty mobile games on mobile phone, but I think a lot of people look at those ones. So I'm talking about games like Honkai Impact 3rd that look absolutely stunning. And the upcoming Genshin Impact, which is going to be on all consoles plus mobile, which is pretty much anime Breath of the Wild. They look absolutely stunning, but I feel like a lot of people are discouraged that, they'll ever reach that level and being able to make that work on mobile. But if somebody can, out of their basement, just literally working on an emulator, can get a emulated game working on a phone that acts as pretty much the same thing, I'm pretty sure that if you have an idea, you can make it work.
Yeah. I guess mobile phones, especially now, they're so much more powerful than what the 3DS could do. So,
Absolutely.
So, yeah, I don't know. It's just I guess it's a real good way if you want to be real cheap about it. But yeah. All right.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Oh, well, should I move on to the next one, Bryce? Nothing else to say about that one?
Not particularly. Emulators, they move forward, they keep going. There's heaps of them on the platform.
Yeah. All right. So this is another one from Nintendo Enthusiast, and this one's from David Wise, actually. So composer David Wise explains Nintendo 64 cartridge advantage over CD, and it was all about dynamic sound. So developer Rareware was a force to be reckoned with back in the Nintendo 64 days. Banjo-Kazooie, Perfect Dark, Conker's Bad Fur Day, all these titles are classics. For some of the most memorable moments that have come out of Rare's games are their scores. A former composer of the company, Dave Wise, recently waxed nostalgic about Rare's bygone days with US Gamer. Wise, alongside with ex-employee Grant Kirkhope, actually made a surprising point when he mentioned the advantages cartridges had over CDs. So while Nintendo took understandable heat sticking with cartridges for the Nintendo 64, they didn't have as much space as CDs. Wise offered a positive for this decision during the interview. So this is a quote from Wise. With Nintendo 64 having MIDI, it meant that we could have dynamic responsive scores that react to gameplay environments. Even though our competitors could use a CD, it was a fixed track and had limited scope for reactive music. End quote. I know exactly what he means. Granted, CDs had ways to pull off reactive music, but Banjo-Kazooie's soundtrack adapting to Banjo submerging himself underwater is what I remember most fondly all these years later. Kirkhope agreed with Wise's assessment, saying the console's limitations meant one had to give it all when designing music for it. Quote, "You had to try your best to write a good melody and set of chords, as most of the time that was the best you could do. Rare were huge Nintendo fans, so I was constantly being reminded of how good Nintendo OSTs were." End quote. This just goes to show that less powerful specs don't mean a system is inferior to another. When you have talented musicians like Wise and Kirkhope, you can make magic with anything. So it's an interesting sort of perspective just from the Nintendo 64 versus the original PlayStation, that a lot of the time there were so many benefits to moving the medium from cartridges to CD, mainly the bigger storage and the better quality of sort of music you could play. But the cartridges did have a benefit when it is being able to react to what you're doing in the game. So that's pretty cool.
And those two guys are a really big forefront in why I enjoy video game music so much. Knowing Banjo-Kazooie's soundtrack, and it's one of the ones that, you know, I'll always sing along with when I'm playing it, even if it's just tunes. And the stuff that they did with those music, and again, mentioning just like even something as simple as going underwater and getting a completely different vibe instantly. I think that's what made, you know, moments in that game as magical as they were, was how well that was crafted to really fit the world. And, you know, even some other games did it as well. You know, Ocarina of Time's probably a good example, underwater as well.
Yeah, like especially Mario 64 is one that really sticks out to me, just like jumping in the water, and as you're like swimming down, it's just like changed the music and it sounds like it's muffled, as in like the music's still playing above water, but you're just like hearing it as you're swimming down. So yeah, this definitely adds a lot of atmosphere to the games, and I think it was pretty important, especially for a lot of those games where the soundtracks are so iconic even today, I feel like.
Yeah, absolutely. So, I mean, yeah, they may not have had as much space, but the reason I remember Nintendo games fondly is not because of their length or, you know, whatever it may be, but because of the magic worlds they created, and a lot of it was actually through the music. So, I mean, it really just goes to show that it was certainly a positive force out of the burden of being hindered by such a small space.
Yeah. So back in the day when you were paying so much for the big cartridges, you can feel justified that your music changed as you impacted it throughout your gameplay. So that can make you feel.
And longevity as well.
Yeah, that's true. Not many PlayStation 1 cases left anymore.
No.
But I guess there's even less Nintendo 64 boxes. So I guess there's that.
Yeah, that's true.
So moving on, this is from My Nintendo News, and this is just regarding the 2K games coming out at the end of this week. So the Borderlands collection, the Bioshock collection, and XCOM 2 physical editions have really big downloads to download once you've already got the physical edition. So the article reads, "It's an exciting time for 2K right now as the upcoming Borderlands Legendary Collection, Bioshock The Collection, and XCOM 2 Collection are making their way to Nintendo Switch soon. But for those looking to purchase the games physically, it's worth freeing up some space on your SD cards in preparation, as there are some pretty hefty downloads for each of them. Check out the downloads required as per the 2K website." So strap on, Bryce. I hope you've got some room if you ever plan to buy these games, and likewise everyone out there. So if you want to play the Borderlands collection and you've bought it physically, you're going to have to sit through a 42 gigabyte update for that one. Oh. Holy shit. That's bigger than your internal Switch memory, which is only about 28 gig by the time the operating system takes up the 32. So for Bioshock The Collection, it's 31 gig download. And XCOM 2, it's a nice small one. But it's still 34 gig. No, 24 gig, sorry. But still 24 gig is still quite a bit, especially for a Switch game. So keep that in mind. So Breath of the Wild, the whole game is about 11 gig.
And that's all on the cartridge.
Yeah, it's all on the cartridge. Obviously, Nintendo has the benefit of making the cartridges, so they can just get the bigger size for not as expensive as the third parties are buying these bigger size cards, but still big cards. They obviously didn't opt for the bigger cards like CD Projekt Red did with The Witcher. They fit the whole thing on one SD card. I think it was about 32 gig for that game. So yeah, it'd be interesting to see what these ports are like. I haven't seen any reviews or anything yet, but we'll see them by the end of the week, see how these ports came out. So one of basically 2K's biggest outing on the Switch. They've had their basketball games and everything on Switch before, but those ports were pretty average, especially the wrestling game. That was very poorly optimized for Switch.
Rubbish.
So I'm really hoping Bioshock and Borderlands are really good. I hope XCOM 2 is as well, but they're the two collections I'll be pretty interested in picking up when they're a bit better price. I'm not buying them for $100.
No.
Yeah, that's not happening. All right. So let's move on to some Pokemon Sword and Shield data mining. So this is from Nintendo Enthusiast, and the article is Pokemon Sword and Shield get new moves revealed from data mining. And the article reads, as far as we know, Pokemon Sword and Shield are getting the first major DLC content next month. Plenty of gaming content has been delayed due to COVID-19, but March's trailer still stands with a rough June release window. Now, a recent Pokemon Home update has revealed some DLC details via data mining pertaining to new moves. The update for Pokemon Home is a precursor to the upcoming Pokemon Sword and Shield DLC. The data mine provides some saucy details as the main game's DLC, including a list of 21 moves. These are likely to be made official next month when the DLC launches. Here is the full list. So we'll go through the list, Bryce. We'll just read the names of the new attacks. So Expanding Force, Steel Roller, Scale Shot, Meteor Beam, Shell Side Arm, Misty Explosion, Grassy Glide, Rising Voltage, Terrain Pulse, Skitter Smack, Burning Jealousy, Lash Out, Poltergeist, Corrosive Gas, Coaching, Flip Turn, Triple Axle, Dual Wing Beat, Scorching Sands, Jungle Healing, Wicked Blow, and Surging Strikes. Most of the listed moves are brand new for the upcoming Pokemon DLC, but there is a familiar entry. Zarude is already capable of performing the Jungle Healing move, which is learned at level 90. The Pokemon move restores health and removes status effects. So obviously we just got names of attacks. We don't know a lot. We can sort of like look at them and sort of maybe think about what they might do, what types that might be, what effects they might have. And adding, it's actually pretty exciting. I never really thought about adding moves to Pokemon Sword and Shield. Obviously we know they're bringing old Pokemon back, as well as adding a couple of new ones with new Galarian forms and that. But the metagame is really going to be shaken up with all these new attacks and everything. So I'm really looking forward to seeing how it affects everything.
Well, I think my biggest primary concern with it is that how these moves are obtained, because obviously Pokemon are already crafted to fit their criteria. They've got their movesets, everything, whatever it may be. So does this mean that the only place you'll be able to learn the moves is in the DLC? Because there again raises another question of balancing Pokemon. Is that if you're going to have DLC and there's people that don't want to buy the DLC but still want access to the content, they've said, yeah, you can trade the Pokemon from the expansions. It's like, cool. But for these moves, if you're setting up a specific Pokemon on your game, does this mean that like if a move from the expansion pass is optimal, are you going to have to trade your Pokemon over to your friends so then they can figure out how to do it and then send them back?
Yeah, it'll be like it'll definitely be a part of the free update if you don't buy the DLC. They're doing the free update so Pokemon that are available in the DLC can be traded with, and you can put them into your game without the DLC. So this will be a part of that update. But how you learn them, like obviously you got no idea. It might be a move tutor. You can only learn on that part of the region. So maybe you have to go there to learn these moves. Not sure.
Which is the concerning thing.
And what these attacks do, who knows? They might just all be.
They almost sound like Z moves.
Yeah, I was about to say it could be just like a different version of the G-Max moves. So more G-Max forms. This might be exclusive moves for them. Like, for example, there's a Shell Sidearm, and I think it was A-Drive pointed out that maybe Galarian Slowpoke and Slowking might have the shell on their arm instead of their tail. So they might use the shell to do a physical attack. So that could be a possibility, and that might be a G-Max form of Slowpoke, for example. So, yeah, don't know. Like, there's like Misty Explosion, so that could be a terrain move. There's obviously a move called Terrain Pulse, whether that's being able to set up different terrain and sort of affect the battle that way. So there's lots of possibilities in these new moves. So I'm looking forward to seeing what they're all about. But obviously without the context of what type and what effects they have, we've only got names at the moment. So yeah. All right, let's move into. We've got a couple of Pokemon stories in this bit of the news. So this one's from Nintendo News as well, and this is just basically a press release from the Pokemon Company. But the article reads: "Gear up for Pokemon Sword and Shield expansion pass with special mystery gifts." So the Pokemon Company has announced this afternoon, which is not now, that they will be gifting free mystery gifts for the next 4 weeks, with one upcoming each week in Pokemon Sword and Shield. This move is to gear up people for the upcoming expansion pass for the popular Pokemon title on Nintendo Switch. The expansion pass is due out by the end of June. Today, you can claim Galarian Mr. Mime with the hidden ability Ice Body and a set of Pokeballs. So here's the details. So you can get Galarian Mr. Mime with the hidden ability Ice Body and a set of Pokeballs. So a Pokemon with Ice Body will heal 1/16 of its max HP at the end of each turn. If it's hailing during battle, the ability will also protect the Pokemon from taking damage from hail. So the Pokeballs you'll receive is a Lure Ball, a Moon Ball, and a Heavy Ball, and a Dream Ball. Then the next week, starting on Thursday, May 28th, you'll get a Galarian Ponytail with the hidden ability Anticipation and a set of Pokeballs. So Anticipation, when a Pokemon with the ability Anticipation enters the battlefield, it will be able to tell whether your opponent has a move that will be super effective against it, or if it could be a one-hit KO, such as a move like Horn Drill. You'll receive a Level Ball, a Fast Ball, a Love Ball, a Friend Ball, and a Beast Ball. The main one there being a Beast Ball because they're very rare. So that would be a good one.
Oh, yeah, big time.
That would be a good one to get because a lot of people like getting their eggs in Beast Balls because they're such a rare ball. And the week after that, on Thursday, June 4th, you'll be able to get a Galarian Corsola with the hidden ability Curse Body. If a Pokemon with the Curse Body ability is hit by a move that deals damage, Curse Body has a 30% chance of disabling that move. This renders the move unusable for 4 turns. What's more, the evolution item set will give you items you need to evolve certain Pokemon. So you'll receive a Sweet Apple, a Tart Apple, a Chipped Pot, a Cracked Pot, and a Sachet, and a Whipped Dream. So it'll be useful if you're looking for those items to evolve certain Pokemon.
If you haven't done your Pokedex
yet. Which, you might not have. And the week following that one, on June 11th, you'll get a Galarian Meowth with the hidden ability Unnerve. So the ability Unnerve makes opponents too nervous to eat berries during battle, which would be very annoying if someone's relying on berries to pull off their strategy. And also the items you'll receive is 50 big nuggets, which you can sell for a lot of money at shops, and 100 XP large candies to help raise your Pokemon.
So 500,000 Poke.
Which is not too bad for free, and also 100 large candies will come in handy as well for just
big time. Yeah,
putting in your repertoire to level up.
Mm-hmm.
So I'm looking forward to just getting those things. It's nice just getting a hidden ability Pokemon for free. So why not? And that Beast Ball will come in handy too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
And just on a real quick bit of Pokemon news. So this is from Nintendo Soup, which we haven't featured on the show before yet, but here we are. Thank you, Nintendo Soup, for the article. And the title is Game Freak is looking for programmers, designers, and more. So Game Freak, the studio behind the mainline Pokemon games, is looking to expand their development team. The studio is looking for programmers, 3D graphic designers, planners, technical artists, and management staff to work on upcoming projects. Applications will be interviewed online in 2 different sessions. The first session will take place from May 21st to May 22nd, 2020, which is I've really lost track of the date, and that has already happened. So I was going to say, if you are looking to work for Game Freak, go and have a look. But, you've missed your chance. Sorry, mate. You've got to wait for Gen 10 to get a job at Game Freak. I just thought I'll bring that up. Obviously, last year we talked a lot about, all the debacles going on surrounding Pokemon, and you put your thoughts out there about them needing to hire more staff to, get the quality of the game or get the content of the game to where we would like it. And let's just not bring that up again. But they are rehiring, so we'll see where new management and new staff at Game Freak sort of lead on the future of the Pokemon series, which I hope is good.
Hopefully.
It's like, I hope it's bad.
So. I hope it's terrible.
I'm too addicted to the games. I need to be really bad so I can just let it go. And our last news story, Bryce, is from My Nintendo News. And Nintendo says that some of our repair centers are now available to gradually restart service. Since March, Nintendo's repair services have been shut down due to the coronavirus pandemic. Things have been gradually reopening throughout the United States this month, and that is including Nintendo's repair services. The company says in their English Nintendo support website that, quote, in accordance with local guidelines, some of our repair centers are now available to gradually restart services. We are working as quickly and as safely as possible to get you playing again and appreciate your understanding. I anticipate your understanding. That'll be weird. End quote. As Nintendo's repair services gradually
understand this.
You better. If you don't, I'll be grumpy. As Nintendo's repair services gradually return, the company also explained how they will sort out repair orders. Nintendo said that while repair centers ramp up operations, repair orders will be prioritized in the order that they have been set up and received, including products currently held at repair centers that were in process and not completed due to the closures. All right, so that's the end of that. So Nintendo is going to be gradually opening up their repair centers. This basically is referencing US, but I assume repair centers all over the world have sort of definitely felt the impact of this. So if you're someone out there who might have been trying to sue Nintendo because of your Joy-Con drift, well, now you can maybe try and get it fixed for a couple of weeks before it starts doing it again.
Oh dear.
Could you imagine, like, I know there's a lot worse things that have happened and can happen, but it would be a real bummer to be like, all right, my Switch is playing up. I'm going to send it in. The center's shut down. You got no Switch, but then you're also stuck at home. And you're like, well, shit.
Yeah. I'd hate to be in that position.
It's like a perfect time to play video games, catch up on some stuff, and just like, forget about some of the more troubling things going on. Maybe just playing some Animal Crossing and chilling out. But your Switch is, in some repair center somewhere. Yeah, that'd be a bit of a bummer, but yeah, it's good to see that some things are returning to normal. Seems like thinking about it, like Australia-wise, like a lot of things are returning to normal, but it seems like in the States and other places too. Like, see the Pope announced, did a bit of a speech as well, and people were there with their masks on, socially distanced, and seems like a bit more normalcy is coming back, so that's good to see.
The Pope also sprayed people with holy water with a friggin' water gun, so...
He did.
So I don't know about normalcy there.
I mean, do what makes you happy, man. Just
shoot people with the holy water and a water gun.
If I was the Pope, I would 100% be like, yeah, I'm going to squirt people, say it's holy water, whatever. But the people receiving the squirt, I'm like, I don't know about that. I mean,
I don't know.
Over in Europe, they're coming into summertime, so maybe the people will appreciate a nice squirt in the face by the Pope. It's getting a bit humid in Italy at the moment. Like if you're in Venice, it would be a bit sweltery, you would think, just with all the water and...
Speaking of the seasonal change, actually, that's a really positive thing for them.
Yeah, coming in the summertime, absolutely.
It'll, help slow things down a bit. And as we know, in Italy, it's been absolutely shocking. So, hopefully things can go back to some sort of normalcy once they've sort of sorted that out. But, yeah. Play it by ear.
Yeah, unlike us in the southern hemisphere going into wintertime.
Yeah, but I think we've got that low amount of cases down here that I don't think it's going to matter anyway. It's mostly the northern hemisphere that's been hit by this.
Mm. Yeah, well, that's spread out in Australia, so we're pretty well designed for socially
handling
distancing.
This type of thing.
Yeah, absolutely. All right, so we got through the news, Bryce. That took a long time, but let's move into Reggie's rec room, Bryce. We've got a couple of things we want to discuss, so let's just slide on over there. Oh yeah.
Hi, Nintendo fans. Reggie here. Thank you for your never-ending support, for giving me a mushroom kingdom full of incredible memories that I will never forget. Ever.
All right, Bryce, we're in Reggie's rec room for the first time, and a long time for you, Bryce. It's been a while. So, how's the room holding up? Reggie's actually tried on a new cologne. It's absolute to die for. It smells very nice. What do you think of his new scent?
Reggie, you're killing it over there, mate.
Just delicious. Yeah.
I'd like a whiskey while you're there too.
Yeah. I assume by that death stare, he's not getting up to serve you a drink, mate. So you might just have to leave him alone for a little bit.
I mean, he's also doing a podcast now, so
he is doing a podcast.
Down his bartending time.
Yeah, well, I said he's more than welcome to use our microphones, but he said, you know what, I'll go back to my place for that. I'm like, well, fair enough.
I'm wondering if he's podcasting now. Maybe we could get him on the show.
You know what? That thought has 100% gone through my head, and I got no idea how I can get him to notice me, but I've got a little bit of an idea.
Him on Twitter.
Yeah,
just tag him on Twitter. Say, hey, we've done 150 episodes of a podcast. We're like your biggest fans in the world. Just please come on.
We literally have a room in our house dedicated to you, my friend. Like,
yeah, we call it the rec room.
They might put him off though. Yeah. They're like, what the fuck, boys? You guys are a bit dense, a bit thick.
Well, that's all the time I have.
Yeah. Anyway, it's kind of weird just talking about Reggie right in front of him, so let's stop doing that. So, Bryce, when I asked you before we started the show, you sort of want to talk about Nintendo's 2020, what they're like, what's going to be happening going forward. And once we finish that discussion, I've got Jamie Penning actually brought up a topic just as we were starting the show in our Discord community, which you can find an invite in the show notes of this very episode. But he has a topic and he says, when is a game considered retro? So I'm looking forward to jumping into that one. But before that, how do you feel about Nintendo's 2020? We haven't had a solid direct apart from the mini direct a few months ago. The biggest announcement pretty much was Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition. That was just explaining more of the game and having the release date. But apart from that, we don't have any solid Nintendo game that's going to be coming in, I guess, the next
month and a bit.
Yeah, well, we've got Paper Mario now, but as everyone knows, that was just dropped on social media without a direct or anything. So, how do you feel going forward?
I mean, I'm pretty content at the moment. I've still got so much crap to play.
Yeah.
In my case, I've got oh my god, I've got nearly 30 store price games. Like where I probably haven't touched 60% of them.
Yeah.
Or at least like touch to a degree where I'm like, okay, yeah, well, I got my money's worth. So I've still got shit tons to play. But at the end of the day, Nintendo titles are what I'm like mostly concerned about. So I'm not hearing too much early this year, except for maybe Xenoblade DE, which I went and put my pre-order in for today, and hopefully it will arrive here on Friday, because I will not have the time over the weekend as I am working on the day it releases and on the Sunday. So I just opted to get it mailed. So
where did you order it from? EB Games?
No, Big W.
Oh, Big
you
W.
Can pre-order. You can pre-order with Afterpay there, which is like a godsend.
Yeah, I was just thinking if you ordered through EB Games, you're definitely not getting it. I've never ordered through Big W online, so yeah, fingers crossed for you.
Yeah, I thought I'll give it a try because I like Afterpay, and there's as far as I could tell, there's nowhere else that does Afterpay pre-orders. So yeah. I'm like, yeah, I'll give it a shot, see what happens. It might turn up on Friday, it might not. They reckon the latest it'll turn up is Tuesday, which, Tuesday's fine for me because at the moment I'm working Sunday, Mondays most of the time, except with the exception of this week. Yeah, I mean, that'd be fine. I'll get to play it on the day it turns up at the house. But, Origami King as well, that was obviously announced, and just briefly touching on that, I think that looks awesome. And it'll probably just be the general Paper Mario romp, but it also seems to have like this dark little cultist side about it, which, that could be fun. Like, I see you have not been folded. Would you like to join the folded people? Like, almost like a Yiga clan in Zelda, like very similar thing.
Yeah.
But and I think that looks like a brilliant game, and I'd love to play it. I'm not sure whether it'll be immediate pickup for me. But I think that's mainly down to how the last Paper Mario games have been handled. I don't think anything was thematically wrong with them, and they were just general Paper Mario games. But I think the problem with them was that the RPG combat was a bit stagnant, and there's a lot of games on the Switch where if I want to play an RPG, I can play a very good one really fast. So yeah, I guess it depends on how much it catches me as information comes out closer to release. But I think my biggest concern with them this year, and I know that it's a bit of a thing for you too, is that because E3 is not happening, which when this thing started, I think we both assumed, they might have a show, like a direct pop up, because they've done that anyway for the last few years, and it's a good time for them to sort of do everything. But again, they've had the mini direct, and they shadow dropped Paper Mario out of nowhere, and that feels like something that they would make a much bigger deal about.
Yeah. It feels like a sort of like a medium announcement in a direct. Like it's sort of like the same tier of what Link's Awakening was the year before, where in the first direct, like Link's Awakening, everyone went, wow, like a remake of Link's Awakening, and it looks beautiful, and it's a game a lot of people haven't played before, and those that had played it, it obviously looks a lot better. I feel like it's a similar sort of tier of announcement, whereas like, oh, Paper Mario looks great. There's a few issues we might have just from the last two games, so hopefully they fix them. But apart from that, really looking forward to a fun, witty, and well-written RPG. But
were there any big sluggers last year that I'm forgetting?
Yeah, in that direct, I can't remember exactly what was there, but yeah.
Like I think the most they had was like Astral Chain news and stuff like that, maybe.
Yeah, because we already knew about Pokemon Sword and Shield.
Yeah. Astral Chain was coming out like a month after it, I believe. Yeah, I don't think there was anything huge that year, so it was sort of like a consistent flow as it has been since the Switch started, but nothing that goes bang, and that's like why I've really held on to the thought of Breath of the Wild releasing this year, because again, it's been 3 years since Breath of the Wild released. They've been working on it, and they've had, as far as they've said, they're like, well, we're reusing Hyrule, we're reusing the engine because the engine's fantastic, and nobody can fucking argue that because it is a fucking brilliant engine. And, they had all these concept ideas that they wanted to use, but it never really made it to the final product. And that they're seemingly going to use, like Link with his morphing arm and stuff like that from the concept artwork. And, if you meld that with the trailer, that seems to be what they're going with. It felt like everything was in place for Breath of the Wild to be like, all right, we could shovel that right in the end of the year, right when the big consoles come out. For people buying, making it the general improvements that people wanted to Breath of the Wild to make it the ultimate sort of Zelda experience, to compete with these big hitters, like right as the new console launches come up, and it just really seemed to make sense. But with no announcement of like a direct coming around that time, when asked about the coronavirus situation, they're sort of like, well, there's no news at this time. There's no news at this time. That's what they've sort of been saying over and over again. It feels like that we're going to be sort of missing our typical loop of news that gets us hyped up for the next year and a half or so.
Yeah, so we're not going to be getting in direct. The rumor was that it's going to be sort of later in the year, say July. Then I guess a rumor or a statement came out basically from someone that we're not getting there is not a direct planned at all anymore. So it's going to be all drops, similar to how the Origami King was announced and just dropped onto social media, and it's like, oh, cool, that's coming out now, cool. So I think that's going to be what we're going to be looking at going forward. And I wouldn't be surprised if we're getting some of these more I guess simpler placeholder games like Pikmin 3 port. We're getting, I think the big game is going to be the Mario Collection, or at least the Mario games separately, however they decide to put them together or release them. But I think that's going to be the big thing they're going to be using to push the Switch this year, is that Mario Collection. Because there's enough sort of word out there, but that is something that is happening. It isn't just a rumor or something made up. And I believe it as much as I can, a rumor or something that we don't have any proof of yet. But yeah, like personally, that's what I want this year. I want just a collection of remade Mario games. I'll be more than happy with that, because, like you said, I've got heaps of stuff on Switch to play, let alone my PlayStation and Xbox, and let alone if I decide to get a next generation console, which I probably will. There'll be plenty of launch games on that. So there's no lack of games. And I don't think there's any lack of games on Switch either, unless you're someone who had a Switch at launch and you've done a fantastic job of keeping up with everything. I don't see how you're necessarily really itching to for something to play. Like for example, I've this year I've been mainly still playing Pokemon, and people in the Discord like Jamie, he's on his like third playthrough of Fire Emblem.
Yeah.
So there's plenty of games you can go back and at least like retry or play on hard mode, or find some fun indie games to spend your time in. Like there's no lack of games. So that's how I feel anyway. But I know someone, especially if you weren't interested in Animal Crossing, there was a big gap between first party Nintendo releases. So it was between Pokemon and now, if you weren't interested in Animal Crossing, which is a bit rough. But,
oh yeah, for sure. But I feel like Animal Crossing's really ridden like a huge ride.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah.
I mean, it has. I mean, you reported the numbers, you talked about the numbers, and you know that's exactly what it's done. It's absolutely taken the Switch infrastructure by storm.
It is funny though. In our Discord, Bryce, a lot of them aren't into Animal Crossing. A lot of them don't.
I know.
Haven't tried it. So, Jamie and Luke and those guys in there, they'll be in a similar situation where it's like, where's a first-party Nintendo game? I haven't played one in a long time.
Yeah. But I mean, like, I think personally, like, for any of those guys listening in the Discord, take it from somebody that had a bit of time in Wild World and maybe 5 hours in New Leaf. This one has been like quite the upgrade in terms of just how you manage your island, what you can do, whatever it may be. And it does seem like something that, you really don't want to waste your time on, or whatever it may be, but it is literally just a little bit of playing per day to keep it up. And then like when you feel like sitting down and doing some nice big infrastructure work and making something fancy, like you can do it. It gives you that option to spend a lot of time planning and doing things like that, which is awesome. So if you are the slightest bit interested in it, I do highly recommend it as anybody's first Animal Crossing, to be completely honest with you. Like in comparison to the last ones, it's definitely quite the improvement.
Yeah, definitely. But I guess if it's not your type of game, if you're like, I really don't want to just have a game where I'm just chilling out, if that's not your type of thing, then it's just, regardless of the improvements they make, it's just not your type of thing.
Yeah,
so,
which I understand, and I mean that's why I
obviously.
said, like, if you're the slightest bit interested, you'll probably be surprised. And it's positive. Going back to what you said about the Mario collection, I want to believe that's real, but really, like, over the really, like over the last, what is it, like nearly 40 years of Nintendo video games development, it's happened how many times? Like once on the SNES for Mario, and then once on the Wii.
Yeah, so you're talking about Mario All-Stars on Super Nintendo, where they basically remade the games in a new art style, and they re-released that for the Mario 25th year anniversary. It was just like the ROM on the Wii disc. It wasn't very exciting, but
no.
And now it's the 35th anniversary of the Mario series, so the rumor is that they're planning to do a nice big juicy remake or re-release of Super Mario 64, Mario Sunshine, and Mario Galaxy, and it kind of sounds like, wow, that sounds amazing, and it would be so cool if they said it was like Mario All Stars 2, like that's how it was branded.
Yeah,
and like these games are remade in the Odyssey engine, so they all look the same. They're all in the same art style, much like Mario 1, 2, 3 were in Mario All Stars on the Super Nintendo, but now it's basically Mario All Stars 2 with the 3D games, and that'd be like one of the, I guess, dream remakes as far as I'm concerned. It's just having those games, like just the quality between them. Sunshine needs some work, and I think that would benefit the most from it. But Mario 64 and Mario Galaxy are like top tier video games in general. Like they'll be in the top 100, like for most websites and people, I would assume.
And I mean, I'd love to believe it, but I just think with nothing sitting there, no information that's official, no word that something like that's coming, I honestly don't see it happening for a while. And I'm talking like next year. Like they might announce it this year, but I don't think we'll be seeing that until next year. Especially, again, you know, the same reason that I think that, you know, I'm probably going to lose this bet is that because of the coronavirus and everything that's gone around it, Breath of the Wild 2 is more than likely going to be delayed from where it was in its original slot. And
okay.
Listen. All right, Mr. Snark. All right, he's going to come around the corner. All right, Aonuma's going to come around the corner. He's going to be like, "It was slated for 2020," and you're going to be like, "Fuck," and you're going to owe me that pizza. But my point is,
you know what I think of that, Bryce? You know what I think of your opinion of the game was originally meant to come out this year? I think this. Did you hear that?
No.
I'll turn it up.
Well, okay. All right. You want to make this comparison difference, all right? Let's put this out there. Breath of the Wild 2 was announced last year. Right? They had a trailer going for it, they had concept going for it. They have a whole art book of ideas that they're pulling from and ideas they're disappointed they didn't use. They're reusing the entirety of Hyrule. They've said this. They're reusing an engine they've already made. They've said this. They don't have to recreate anything from scratch except new content. But the actual base of itself, of the entire world of Hyrule, is done. And it has been done for 3 years. What are you going to have to do with an entire Mario collection with 3 games where you have to remodel all the worlds and make sure they fit with the physics engine and make sure that they're all good to go and ready to go on a slate when we haven't heard a single fucking word about them?
Yeah, like that is a lot.
Tell me how believable that is.
I mean, that is a lot of work, but at the same time, they might not even be remakes. They might just be. It might be a real simple re-release.
But that's what everybody's reporting.
Yeah,
that's how it's going to happen.
It would be extremely disappointing if they come out and say, "Here's the collection." It's literally just like letterboxed Super Mario 64, like it was back in the day. It's kind of like, oh, okay, it'd be pretty. I don't know if they can even release it like that.
No.
So, yeah. But I will say them going back and remaking the games, I reckon still would be easier than them doing a sequel to Breath of the Wild. Like, they got the assets for Breath of the Wild. They got the world. But making a sequel to one of their most critically acclaimed games and one of the most important games they've ever released, there's a lot of expectations.
But they've been doing 3 years.
Yeah, there's a lot of expectations, and it might even take more than 3 years.
And they're reusing a lot of the already made content, and they've made note of this. It's not unbelievable that they can do that. They did it with Ocarina of Time and Majora's Mask, and they created a whole new map with that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Come on. And they did that in a year. You're telling me that they can't do that in 3 with a lot of reused content? No way in hell.
I'm not telling you they can't do it, because they certainly can. But I just feel
they
like
absolutely can.
I just feel like they're being careful with it. They won't necessarily be like, all right, 3 years and it's out.
No, they don't. They wouldn't have announced it that early if it wasn't going to be relatively soon. Because at the end of the day, they want people to ride that hype. There are a lot of people talking about Zelda at the moment.
Yeah.
Heaps. There are people replaying Breath of the Wild and people seeing new things and you know, they're all rediscovering it. It's like the perfect time for them to be like, all right, well, here it comes. But, you know, they needed something big at the end of the year, and it could have been the Mario collection. But if they're going to do it the way that people are apparently saying that they're going to do it, and they're going to do it in the Odyssey engine or whatever it may be, or if it was even a bigger Mario title, we would have known about it earlier.
Yeah.
We wouldn't, you know, it wouldn't have been right now.
It's interesting too because next year is also going to be Legend of Zelda's 35th anniversary. So maybe they'll even looking to hit the anniversary date for Breath of the Wild 2 as well. Or
I'm almost thinking, honestly, I'm almost thinking honestly that more or less likely that we would probably see Nintendo 64 emulators come before then.
For the Nintendo Switch Online service, yeah, we'll see. I wouldn't be confident in that, but I want
Mario Kart 64, Super Mario 64. Then you've got the two Zeldas.
I want that. I really want that.
I think that's probably like the perfect excuse to release them on, because obviously that was, you know, a huge era for both those series. It did absolute wonders for them. Mario Kart 64 was an absolute gem. Super Mario 64 is the most recognizable game of all time. Like, you know, I think that's probably more likely. I know something Mario is going to be done soon, because Mario's been stagnant for a while and it's not really had much. But I just feel like if they were doing something for it, it would have been announced earlier. It's obviously an anniversary date.
No, not necessarily, because remember 3D World was announced at E3 the year that came out, and that came out in November, so it only had a few months between it. So they usually do announce big Mario projects at E3 around that time. So I think if it was a normal year, I think this would have been an E3 announcement. They would have been saving it for that. So if we see it, it's going to be July, September, roughly. They'll drop what method of showing the trailer they're going to show us.
I just think if it's going to happen at all, it's going to happen either disappointingly or it's not going to happen.
Well, they'll probably do it like they did Paper Mario, where they'll just drop it, go, hey, whatever it's going to be called, I'm just going to say Mario All Stars 2 contains this and these new features. This is how the games are enhanced, coming this, whatever the release date is, coming this year.
I don't even know where this rumor circulated from. Where was its origin point?
I can't remember just yet. I'll look it up if you want to know, but it was confirmed by a fair few sources. So it wasn't like the rumors in the past where it's just like one person saying it, but like all these outlets just sort of like grabbing onto that one thing. There was people hear about it, and then through their sources they were able to confirm it.
And the original rumor was that they're coming back and they're being remade in the Odyssey engine, or was it
No,
they're coming back?
It was just Mario games are going to be re-released for the 35th anniversary.
Right. Okay.
And me saying the Odyssey engine is just me saying that is what I would love.
Right. Because I'd heard the Odyssey engine a few times from a couple people.
Right. Well,
and I'm like, I don't think so, because, well, their whole game's on their own, and for them to remake everything and redo it and whatever it may be. And something confusing about Galaxy 2 not being on that list as well is also very confusing, considering how much higher in regard that game is held in comparison to the first.
Yeah.
Like, it's just confusing overall, I suppose. Like, my stance is that if those Mario games come out as a collection, they will come out as a very basic collection. And they will come out before Breath of the Wild. But if they are enhanced to maybe, let's say, about Xenoblade Chronicles Definitive Edition levels of enhanced, right? If they are leveled to about that level of enhancement, I would imagine Breath of the Wild 2 is coming up first.
Right. Yeah.
Because as much as I'd like to see it, it's only had a rumor attached to it. and you're like, oh, a couple reliable sources, more than usual are reporting on it. It's like, yes, but how much of that is rumor mill, and how much are people thinking out their ass during this time?
Yeah,
playing the card.
All right, so I'm just Googling now, so I'll just get it up for myself, you, and the listeners who have forgotten the original story.
Mm-hmm.
So this is an article from Nintendo Life, and they have the original article, then there's an update. So I'll read the original article, then I'll read the update they did once they got more information. So the original article is, Nintendo is set to remaster most of Mario's 35-year back catalog on Nintendo Switch to celebrate the franchise's 35th anniversary this year, according to a new report. The monumental news comes from a trusted site, VGC, which credits multiple sources. So it's not just like one person just talking shit. There's actually a few people, whether they're all talking shit. That's up for debate, but we'll find out regardless, for the information provided. Apparently, Nintendo is to hold an event, which obviously is not happening now, which is to coincide with the anniversary, with all plans due to be revealed alongside new details of Nintendo's partnership with Universal and more. The specific games theoretically coming our way haven't been mentioned, but the report mentions that, as well as the remasters noted above, several other Mario titles are launching in 2020, including a new Paper Mario game. So when Paper Mario got announced, that's when it sort of made people go, okay, there's a bit more credence to these reports. So then the updated article, once they updated it, they say, in addition to the reports mentioned below, the second report from Eurogamer now lists Super Mario Galaxy as one of the confirmed remasters, along with a couple of other 3D Mario favorites. The reporter's author, Tom Phillips, has also taken to Twitter to suggest that HD versions of Super Mario Sunshine and Super Mario 64 are also on the way. The author's original post, Andy Robertson of VGC, has seconded those claims while also stating that Super Mario 3D World and other 3D Marios will come to Switch. So basically, from what they're saying that Super Mario 3D World was going to be its own deluxe edition because it's a more, I guess, recent game. So I guess they see it as a bit more valuable or whatever, so they can put it by itself. But from what these guys are saying is that whether these games are all put together or they're just remastered and released month by month or all together, it's to be seen. But we're definitely going to see older Mario games be released on Switch. Don't know how they're going to be made, but yeah, interesting.
I just don't know if they would delay news like that.
Yeah, well, it's only it's only May, and like I said, other 3D Mario games have been announced June at E3 to be released that year in the holiday. So it's not late at all yet.
But the way it's making it sound as well is there's 3 3D Mario games and there's a back catalogue of older stuff.
Yeah.
So what they're essentially saying is like it would be like Super Mario Brothers, Mario World, Mario 3 probably, Mario World at least. So it'd be 6 games in a collection.
Yeah, they might leave World out just for the fact that
it's on the thingy.
But like after the original All Stars, it was included in All Stars plus World. So I think they'll just be sticking to the 3D ones for this one. But like as Eurogamer sort of listed, Super Mario Galaxy was a confirmed remaster by this person. But then they go on just Twitter to suggest. They don't say that it's happening or that it's confirmed, but they talk about Super Mario 64 and Super Mario Sunshine as well there. So,
but to me, that just feels as baseless as what they were saying about Metroid Prime trilogy. To be honest,
yeah, just like it's coming. It's like, what? No, it's not.
Yeah, it's like it's coming, and then it's just like, oh yeah. It's like, okay, do we have any credible evidence? It's like, oh no, we just know what's coming, and then it's like, okay, so, and that's the problem with leakers is that they say things are coming, and you know what? Sometimes it works out off of good prediction, Sometimes they know because they actually know there's information about it, and that's that's kind of a dick move because a lot of companies are trying to hide the surprises. But the other thing is that it's just baseless rumors, looks bullshit, and they've been talking about this shit for months, and there's nothing solid to back it up yet. It's just talk.
Yeah. I personally do think that we will see these games, but no idea how, no idea which ones. But don't know. I think we'll definitely see something for a big anniversary date. I know that it's kind of weird because the 35th anniversary, it's kind of like, is that a big one? But I guess it works out in the middle of the Switch's life, so it's like, oh well, it's a good way to sort of boost sales again after Mario Odyssey's slowed down a bit. But
I think my thinking behind that is that the 30th anniversary game came around at a really bad time in the company's life cycle with the Wii U.
Oh yeah,
and they were like, "Do we do something for the 30th?" And it's like, I think we should probably focus on recouping our losses first.
Yeah,
and then 35, they might crack it up. But even then, it does feel like an odd anniversary date to release something like that on. I don't know. It's just I think a lot of the rumor mill for the Switch at the moment is grasping at straws, and it's mainly due to exactly what we're going through at the moment, and there's not a lot of news.
Yeah, a lot of people are just like, all right, I want to play a new game. It's like, oh, there's this Mario remake's coming. Wow, we better talk about that for half an hour like we just did. Yeah.
Yeah. Whereas, like, with me and the Zelda thing and my confidence that was meant to be released this year, it was down to, being what's said and what they've planned to do with the game, what they have talked about in interviews. Like, I'm trying to pin it down and being like, all right, it's either late this year, early next year. That was my original prediction. And given that the new consoles were coming this year, they needed a big hit. They've got a lot of, clout in Breath of the Wild in being the game that it is. And the sequel would probably drum up just as much. So that was my thought behind that, that's how it was going to happen. Whereas with remastered Mario games as their big hit for the end of the year to compete with these consoles, whether that would work is the question.
Yeah. Yeah, well, I think that's as much as we can say on it, but we're just going to play the waiting game now, see what Nintendo's got up their sleeve for the holiday and whether we actually see any of these games. But
yeah, by all means, yeah.
So I think this is what I'm going to be, Bryce, when Breath of the Wild doesn't come out this year, or Breath of the Wild 2.
I mean,
that's
again.
That's going to be us laughing, all right, Bryce?
I'm pretty sure I tweeted it. I retract my statement that it had been released this year, and the reason it was because of coronavirus.
Yeah.
Because for very, very obvious reasons, it's delayed a lot of what Nintendo's got going on, including their repair centers. So,
including their repair centers, those poor Joy-Con drift people.
Yeah, like, it's halted a lot of work around the world. So,
yeah,
I'm not sure.
All right, Ross, it's been a pretty long episode, but we'll still jump into our discussion of that Jamie in the Discord brought up, whether a game is when is a game considered retro? So he goes on to say, is it a time frame between now and then? Is it a certain generation of games? And is it, like, for example, is the Wii considered retro, considering it came out in 2006? Or is it more a certain style, like Nintendo 64 or 8-bit or 32-bit? So from there, Bryce, when you think about retro, what does that sort of inspire in you? And do you see it as an age thing or just like an actual style or format of games?
I'm gonna come out with it straight. I think retro is a term that's meant to be used as like a generational term. So like Gen X, Gen Y, Gen Z, I think that's pretty much what that's going to be in the long run, because a lot of people refer to retro games and people are like, oh, what are you talking about retro? What do you consider retro? And a lot of people are like, SNES and below, and then there's people who are like, oh, but Nintendo 64 are retro, and then they're like, I wouldn't consider that because it was moving into a completely new age. You know, everybody has their own definition of retro. So I think in the end, what it's going to become is we're going to have like generational gaps of like, this is considered retro. So like from arcade to SNES.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And then, you know, we're going to have another word for N64 and PlayStation all the way up until PS2 or PS3. And then something for this current one. I think that's probably how it's going to go in the end, because a lot of people really can't define retro by its age now, because there are a lot of games that hold up on consoles like the Wii that are, you know, still really, really good games and very, very easy to play visually, like Galaxy and stuff like that. You know, they don't look terrible.
Yeah.
They still look pretty good even by today's standards. So yeah, I mean, I can't pin it down.
Yeah, I think that absolutely nails it though. But like,
Yeah.
like back in the say PS2 days, you'll be saying retro, and that used to mean like, you know, Super Nintendo and all of that. But as time goes on, if you keep using retro as a term for older games, by the time we get to like 2050, like if you say it's a retro game, that's going to span such a long,
Huge catalog.
yeah, such a huge catalog of games that term is going to become absolutely useless when you're referring to a retro game. You're like, oh, that's a retro game. It's like, well, was that on the PlayStation 1, 2, 3, 4, or 5? You know, it's going to be completely meaningless. So, like you said, it's like a certain style or I guess generation of games where, like, to me, retro does mean basically before 3D. That's when I think of retro games. Like, that is a retro game. Then I don't know what term you'd use for, I guess, PlayStation 1 to PlayStation 2 or Nintendo 64 to GameCube. I'd put them in a similar category. Just for the evolution of like from 64 to GameCube, it was pretty much improvement on just like the graphics.
I think the best thing to like really divide it at the moment is retro is anything before 3D. When they started jumping into 3D, so anywhere from N64, PlayStation, all the way up to probably PS3, Xbox 360. I think that would be considered the 3D revolution, essentially. And then from now on, at the moment, we're going into realism category. And I don't think that it's actually going to evolve much from now, if that makes sense. And that goes back to what was his name? Tabata? No. Whoever we were talking about earlier, I can't remember.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh. You know what I'm talking about. I'm sure everybody knows what we're talking about. The
Platinum Studios head, yeah.
Platinum guy, yeah. I think he's very much right in that, you know, the next console generation, it's going to look very impressive, but in terms of actually like, you know, graphical upgrades or whether we like how we play our games, you know, VR is still a long ways off being considered something that's 100% viable and all that. I think we're going to be stuck in that place for a while. And, you know, that's all going to come down to everybody's trying to reach realism in their games for the most point. So, like, you know, Last of Us 2 and all that, like really trying to up the ante and whatever else comes out on top of it, Halo, etc. We're aiming for closer to real life.
Yeah. And
I think that's probably what it's going to be defined by. Is that, you know, retro is 2D older, 2.5, and then you've got the 3D era, so when everything transitioned into making 3D games more prominent, and then the realism era, so like trying to hit the barrier of like what we consider realistic graphics or, you know, worlds that mesh without having to load so much and stuff like that. I think that's probably how we're going to start defining it.
Yeah, just like the smaller things and the more incremental sort of steps to getting games a bit more seamless.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So there's a bit of a chatter in the Discord, and I'll bring up some of the guys' points in there. So Delfino Durans, he starts off. He says, "Oh God, if the Wii is retro, then I'm an old woman."
Yeah.
I assume they're not an old woman. I guess that's the point.
Yeah, exactly.
Metadox, he says, interesting. I've always thought of the GameCube as the hazy line between retro and non-retro. But what is considered retro could also change on how old you are or what you grew up on. So that could also just be like a point of view on just how old games seem to you. Like someone in their 40s might be like, the Super Nintendo is not retro. That was when I was like 22 years old. That's that's not that far ago. Like surely, but some old Atari might be like that might be considered retro to them. Whereas like for us, we're like, oh yeah, the Nintendo 64, God, that was when we were kids, so that's considered retro. But like we said before, that word's going to lose all meaning if we just use it like that.
Yeah.
Jamie says, to me, retro is Nintendo 64 generation and earlier. The GameCube, PS2, Xbox generation seems to me to be the jump between 3D polygons and straight lines to a more smoother 3D graphic design. Yeah, that's sort of mainly their points they've got in there. So, yeah, I think it mainly is just pre-3D for me. It's like retro. Just you get the idea of what a retro system is and all that. Otherwise, it's gonna, as time goes on, it's gonna be way too much. Like, because if you use it just like 10 years and older, then the original Super Mario Bros. And Mario Galaxy are both retro games. They are not. They are not the same category. They're both different. And
entirely.
I think what might have brought this topic up for Jamie, but I saw there was a trailer. There was something on Twitter. It says there was like a Need for Speed game. I forgot what it was, but no, it was a Blur on Xbox 360 and PS3. And they said, it came out 10 or 12 years ago, so now it's considered a retro game. And it made me think as well. I'm like, just because it's 10 years old, does that mean it's a retro game now? Is that how that works? I'm like, I don't think it is.
No way. No.
Yeah, because like think about it in 2029 when The Last of Us 2 is a retro game. It's like, really?
I still remember talking about Blur in high school.
Yeah, I do too.
Like that's the thing, is that is not that far back that I can't remember it. I think, I don't know. I'm going to stick by my original on that point. I think we're going to have to start dividing it into technological gaps is probably the best way to put it. So, yeah, as I explained before, I suppose now we're in the more realism era where with the Xbox One, the PS4, PC's current generation and all that, and even to a degree Nintendo and how they work with lighting and physics and stuff like that, we're trying to hit more of a realism standpoint in video games. And yeah, then as we go further back, we've got to really divide it up so that, like you said, retro doesn't just define a gigantic catalog, because, there's obviously a huge difference between 2D and 3D, and then there is also a pretty big difference between 3D and realism.
Yeah.
So retro definitely sticks all the way back there, I think.
Yeah, I agree with that. So I think for the first time on this episode, we actually came down on the the same opinion.
That's why you miss me.
Yeah, no, I did miss you, Bryce. And
good.
Everyone, thank you very much for listening to the House of Mario episode 142 or 43. Actually, it was. This was a long one, but I think it's a good one to sort of, I guess at least practice again for next week. Just doing a podcast together again, and for yourself,
and
Bryce.
Return back to discussion as well, because we haven't had a good discussion in a while.
Yeah, we haven't. Yeah, like I didn't see you for like a month and a bit, didn't I? While
nearly 2 months.
Yeah, it was a bloody long time, because we've been seeing each other every week pretty much, whether it's through work or doing the podcast. So it hasn't been that long time, and hasn't been that long in a long time. Yeah.
No, that's exactly right. Yeah, it's been longer than it ever has.
Yeah. So Bryce, It was good having you on as a guest. I assume you're going to jump off again next week.
Shove off.
You're coming back next week, are you?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right, Bryce. If people would want to follow you on Twitter, where can they follow you?
At IVRevan on Twitter. Thinking about doing streaming again, but
You're considering it? You're thinking about it? You're going to do it?
I'm considering it. I've made a new Twitch account.
Oh, right. Yep.
And I've protected this one to the teeth. Because I'm confident they're never giving me back my old account, so they can shove it. I guess.
You haven't moved to Mixer?
No, I removed my Twitch Prime subscription, so I'm expecting an angry email from a Russian saying that they bought this account and this was their Twitch Prime. So,
yep.
I'm expecting that. So we'll see. That happened to Jason once actually. Somebody was playing on their Origin account, on his Origin account, and he got sick of people removing his friends, so he removed them from the account. And he got an angry Russian email saying, "I bought this account, give it back."
Oh, wow. Holy shit.
Yeah. And he retranslated in Russian. He's like, this is my account. You bought it, but I created it.
Yeah, and I never sold it.
And I never sold it. And then he never got an email back. So,
yeah. Wow, that is worrying, actually.
He wasn't even worried about him. He wasn't even worried about them playing it as long as he didn't remove his friends list, but he kept removing his friends list. So he's like, oh, fuck it. No, you're gone then. So.
Yeah. Well, just having credit card information and all that will be concerning, but regardless.
No, I didn't have credit card information on it, so it didn't matter.
Yeah, no one buys anything through EA anyway. It's all right.
No.
And you can follow me at IDruby, and you can follow the show at The House of Mario on Twitter. And we're also on Facebook and all the other stuff, but really only care about Twitter. But you can follow us there to keep up to date. And I was thinking as well, we have recently moved to a new hosting site for our podcast. So if for any reason the podcast isn't going to your RSS feed, that is why it's good to follow us on Twitter in case you need to ask us questions or anything like that. But if you're hearing this, that is not a concern for you guys. And as we sort of talked about a lot in this episode, there is an invite to our Discord community full of awesome people. So make sure you're going there if you're after some good Nintendo friends to talk to. And right, so that brings us to the very end. Finally, we've got a Nintendo jukebox to talk about, and it's by Vetrom, and it's a remix of the Gala Champion Cup theme, which is basically the Elite Four theme from Pokemon Sword and Shield. It's
beautiful.
It's very nice. It's upbeat. It's very good. So go and support Vetrom on Spotify, Apple Music, SoundCloud. There's links to everything in the show notes if you'd like to go and have a listen. But, hold on, I've got to change my sound effects because they're on something else because I decided to put the laugh track on, Bryce, to mock you. But now who's laughing?
Yeah.
You are.
Yeah, me. Yeah, you're an ass.
Yeah, absolutely. So, everybody, until next week, the doors to the House of Mario are closed. Catch you later.
Bye-bye.